If I can call this meeting to order. Good evening, folks. We have a few agendas we're going to be covering this evening. First off, we're going to be going into a special meeting of council. This is to deal with an application for a zoning bylaw amendment, and this is under the Department of Planning and Development Services, report number 2014-42. And the subject, ladies and gentlemen, is the public meeting report for a zoning bylaw amendment, file number D14-0714, 736 Weaver Road. That will be followed by our Committee of the Whole meeting, which is, quite frankly, folks, it's the brunt of the meeting. It's where we have our dialogue and discussion about the different items that are within the agenda. And then following that is our council meeting, which we would expect would ratify a lot of the decisions that were made during the Committee of the Whole meeting, but not the planning meeting. So with that, I'm going to call upon Councillor Ron Bodner, who's going to start us off with a prayer, and that will be followed by Mr. Joel Longfellow, who will lead us off in the national anthem. Councillor Bodner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dear Lord, we ask for your guidance as we meet here tonight. Help us make wise and thoughtful decisions that will benefit our city and its residents. Amen.
Joel.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command. Car ton bras est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée de plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
I can't hear you singing. Oh, is that what on purpose? Joel, thank you. Well done as always.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Members of council, if I can have a motion to confirm the agenda, please. I have Councillor Steele and Councillor Bodner. Any questions or comments to that? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures this evening? Councillor Bodner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a conflict with the public meeting as one of the proponents are a relative of mine. I'll vacate my seat and see you at Committee of the Whole.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Bodner. Actually, Councillor Bodner, before you vacate your seat, I'm going to change it up a bit today. We do have a few delegations as well as presentations to make. And I'm sure, although you're very interested in the proceedings here at City Council, you're probably not going to want to sit through this public meeting. So I'm going to bump up the presentations as well as delegations, if Council doesn't mind. And we'll do those right now so that way you folks don't have to sit here through the public meeting. So with that, I'm going to move on to the podium to call up my colleagues that are going to help me out make some of these presentations as well as proceed. Well, folks, it's that time again, our favorite time of the year where we're able to recognize such valuable members of our community. And this evening, valued members of our community, our youth. And with that, it's my privilege on behalf of members of City Council and of course, more importantly, the community to recognize some of the top athletes attending Lakeshore Catholic High School. Lakeshore Catholic High School students placed very well at this year's SASA and the South Regional OFSA competitions. Many then went on to compete at OFSA, and I would like to right now give the opportunity to Principal Gifford. Where is Principal? There he is. Principal Gifford to come on up and say a few words on behalf of Lakeshore Catholic. Glenn, welcome. Thank you. Watch your head.
Mayor Badaway, councilors, family, and friends. My name is Glenn Gifford. I'm the proud principal of Lakeshore Catholic High School. It's my distinct privilege to come here again and introduce you to some of our students who excelled in the area of track and field Prior to acknowledging the accomplishments of our athletes, I would like to give you a brief overview of Lakeshore Catholic High School over the past year as we're closing our school year shortly. In a nutshell, Lakeshore Catholic High School is one of the finest high schools in Niagara. It's an exceptional school that excels in the area of academics, athletics, arts, and technology, all the while staying grounded in our faith and our commitment to social justice and community. Historically, Lakeshore Catholic High School football team represents Niagara at the provincial level, and I need to remind everyone here that Lakeshore Catholic High School, from the little town of Port Colborne, Ontario, has one of the most respected football teams in the entire country. Recently, our boys hockey team won the Quad A SASA title in hockey. It is no small feat to represent Niagara at an All-Ontario championship at the Quad A level. I ask you to keep in mind that Lakeshore Catholic competes against the finest teams in Ontario. It is not the little school that could, it is the big school that does. Artistically, we've excelled with our music program this year with our production of Grease. We've won 5 Cappy Awards, including Best Female Vocalist, Best Male Vocalist, Best Song, Best Promotion, and Dancers. In all, Lakeshore Catholic High School was nominated for 16 Cappy Awards, taking home 5. Our theater is a top-notch facility that serves both the school and the Port Colborne community. Our manufacturing class repeatedly is called upon by the community as well as the city to complete many different projects around town. We have completed over 14 projects here in Port Colborne. With literacy test scores on the rise, a provincially ranked athletics program, and a quality faith-based education, it is no wonder that Lakeshore Catholic has become the most popular and informed choice for parents in our community to send their children. In the end, we are concerned with what your child learns. We are more concerned with the type of person your child will become. When looking at these factors, Mr. Mayor, it's clear Lakeshore Catholic High School is an indispensable choice for students from Port Colborne, Fort Erie, Waynfleet, Dunnville, Ridgeway, Lowbanks, South Cayuga, and Shirkston. I spoke earlier about our commitment to social justice, and recently Lakeshore Catholic High School competed in a staff-student dodgeball game with proceeds going to Raise the Roof Niagara to help area homeless people in our community. Last month, we participated in Project Irenica, which raised over $1,500 for a women's place here locally. Lakeshore Catholic High School also participates annually in our school pilgrimage, and our pilgrimage raises money for our needy brothers and sisters in Dominica, and I'm happy to say that we finally, after 13 years, had visitors from Dominica come and visit us in Port Colborne and stay with us for 3 weeks back in April. It was an outstanding success. Lakeshore Catholic High School is a school that lives its motto. We are a place where students think clearly, feel deeply, and act wisely. And now I'll refer to Mr. Mayor to please call upon some of our students who excelled in a variety of different sports at the OFSA level. And I just wanted to say before, as we're going through and listening to some of the accomplishments, that I'll just briefly go over them, and then Mayor Badaway will call them over. Adam McLeod finished 3rd in OFSA in the 300 and 800 meter. Chandler Ladd 3rd and 4th in the 800 and 100 meter. Wyatt Flagg progressively improved every meet to place 21st in Ontario in the javelin, 36.29 meters. And Caitlin DeRuiter overcame disappointment in long jump and SASA to advance to OFSA in triple jump, where she placed in the top 20 in all of Ontario. She dumped 10.48 meters, which is literally from this podium to that wall. Just to say, it's quite an accomplishment. Thank you.
Glenn, step here with me. You can help me present these. Well, folks, it's, wow. Wow. But it's my pleasure on your behalf to call up these individuals and recognize them once again on your behalf, and how proud we are. And of course, not only representing their school community, but of course representing their communities of which they represent, whether it be Port Colborne, Dunnville, Waynfleet, or Fort Erie. So with that, I would first like to call up Caitlin DeRuiter, who finished in 3rd at SASA in midget girls triple jump, 2nd at the South Regional OFSA competition, and qualified for OFSA. Well done. Well done. So I will read the first certificate. It is presented to Caitlin DeRuiter in recognition of your outstanding contribution during the SASA and OFSA South Regional competitions, receiving 3rd and 2nd place finishes in midget girls triple jump and qualifying for OFSA. May I extend congratulations on behalf of members of City Council, but more importantly, Caitlin, on behalf of each and every resident of the City of Port Colborne. Your dedication and commitment to your education and sport reinforces the values evident throughout our community. Best wishes in your future, signed by myself. Well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That's supposed to be a capital life? No? Okay, good. Did you want to see your 5-minute speech? No? I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Great job, Gavin. I'm just waiting for the one to say, okay. Next, I'd like to call upon Wyatt Flagg, who finished in 3rd at the SASA in Midget Boys Javelin, 1st at the South Regional OFSA competition, and qualified for OFSA. Wyatt. Flagg, obviously from Waynfleet.
Yes.
Father is who?
Adam.
Adam. And mother? Fire Chief's brother. Well, I played hockey with Chris. The good one of the best hockey players I ever played with, by the way. The guy just had heart. He's just a digger, but great family. So, Wyatt, congratulations. Well done. I'm not going to reread the certificate because it's pretty well the same thing, just with different accomplishments, which I already read. Great work, and hopefully we see more from you next year.
Thank you. Yeah.
Congratulations. I would now like to call upon Amanda Reed, who finished in 2nd at SASA in the senior girls pole vault, 2nd at the South Regional OFSA competition, and qualified for OFSA.
I'll take that for her.
Amanda's not here?
No.
Okay. That must be scary, the pole vault, eh? Okay, you go sideways, it's far way down. I would now like to call upon Chandler Ladd, who finished in 1st at SASA in ambulatory 100 and 800 meters, 2nd in both at the South Regional OFSA competition, qualified for OFSA, and brought home a bronze medal in ambulatory 800 meters. Well done. I would now like to call upon Adam McLeod. Adam finished 1st at SASA in visually impaired 100 and 800 meters, 2nd at the South Regional OFSA competition, qualified for the OFSA, and brought home 2 bronze medals in visually impaired 100 and 800 meters. Adam, well done. Well done. Congratulations. Glenn, thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
It's a pleasure.
Just shortly, folks, and briefly, I just want to congratulate all the wonderful track and field athletes. I would just like to take a moment to thank the administrative and teaching staff as well at the school for guiding and nurturing these students. They are the leaders of tomorrow, and I think for the most part, as Glenn alluded to earlier, a lot of work not only by the athletes, but by the coaches and all those that work tirelessly with them throughout the year. And of course, most importantly, it's to the families and friends, the peers that support these students, and at their excellent skills that they have. It just wouldn't happen without the support from family, friends, and of course, not only those within the school, but throughout the entire community. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank them as well, and thank them for coming out this evening. We have a great and wonderful community of not only the city, but I think that's secondary when you look at the quality youth that we have in our city, and of course with that, youth that we hope someday will be sitting around this horseshoe and possibly with these chains on. So to all you youngsters, we look forward to your leadership in our communities well into the future, and once again, congratulations to each and every one of you, and to Glenn and to Lakeshore Catholic, congratulations to you as well. You have a lot to be proud of. Now with that, I would now like to call upon members of the Colborne Hydro Board, Chairman Hunt, if you want to come on up. We also have Gary Bruno, former councillor, now a member, Councillor Bill Steele, and Councillor B. Kenny, and I will pass the podium on to our chairman, Len Hunt. Len, welcome.
Thank you, Ben.
It's great to have you out.
It's quite an act to follow when you see students do so well at SASA. It gives us a lot of pleasure to hand out grants to community groups, because our community is actually based on volunteers. And when you look across the community, the number of people involved is quite exciting. This year we have total grants of $17,350 being handed out, I have the privilege of doing the first one here, Community Living Port Colborne, to assist with the funding of the weekly tween and teen programs for approximately 40 youth at the Center for Community Living. This program provides activities for tweens and teens who might not otherwise be able to afford the cost of registration and transportation to other community programs. We have a representative here today. Rita?
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. You want to say a few words?
On behalf of Community Living, thank you so much. This money goes a long way, and I thought maybe you'd appreciate hearing from one of our teens that benefits from our programs what all this means.
Hi, my name's Dan Crandall. I'm 16 years old and in grade 11 at Lakeshore Catholic High School. I was born in Hamilton and I have 3 older brothers. I moved to Port Colborne when I was in grade 3. We didn't have places like community living in Hamilton. In 2006, my parents and myself found out that I have a form of autism and I have high anxiety and ODD. I always knew I was different from the other kids. I didn't fit in and was never able to do and go places with kids. I have since learned by coming to programs and places like community living that it's okay to be different. So far in my life, people have not been very nice to me. I've been beaten up, bullied, and excluded from a lot of things. At grade school, I missed my grade 8 trip and overnights as the school board could not provide supports for me. There is one place I do feel safe and accepted. When I first went to high school, I found out about the Y2Y program. I loved it. I met new friends and learned a lot of new things. And if I didn't have that to go to, I would have just gone home and stayed in my room. I'm kind of sad because I just found out there is not going to be any more Y2Y because there's not enough money to continue it. Now other kids like me, going to high school, they won't be able to go to a place where they can fit in and feel safe. I was lucky when I got to Y2Y because I found out about community living and what they do there. They asked me if I wanted to join the teen group. I said yes. I liked it and they liked me. It was a lot of fun. When I talked about things I was interested in, they listened. The kids didn't yell at me or tell me to get lost or swear at me and tell me where to go. I was included, not left out. Community Living also asked me to come to the summer camp. I would have never went before. Every day we did different things like picnics, barbecues, swimming, dances, and even some crafts. We learned how to get along with each other. We went places too, like hiking, bowling, race cars, Clifton Hill, Canada's Wonderland. I never got left out. Now, my friends and I would never get to go to these places without community living. Guess what else? I was lucky last summer because I got to go on a houseboat trip for 5 days. I've never been away from my parents. It was awesome. I had a lot of fun with my friends and the staff. Yeah. Pretty soon, our group is going away to camping to Algonquin Park. We're going to be sleeping in a cabin. We can fish, swim, canoe, and even roast things on the fire maybe, sing songs too. I came here today because I wanted to talk to everyone here because there's a lot of kids who can't speak for themselves. We want to say thank you to all of you for giving money and donations to help make our lives better and more fun. Thank you.
Great job. Well done.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question, please? When he says why, what is he referring to?
It's a youth-to-youth program. It's a youth mentoring program.
It helps with the transition of kids from grade school into high school.
And the funding for that
It's gone.
is gone?
We're done, yeah. So like now, once school ends, that's it. We have no more funding to continue.
Funding come from the city?
No, it came from the Trillium Foundation. All our children's programs are based on grants because community living does not receive any funding whatsoever from the government to run children's programs. It's all just adult programs. So we have to beg and borrow to, so that we can get money so that we can run kids' programs. And that was just one of them.
Well, you should all be congratulated. You've done a wonderful
Thank you.
job.
Thanks.
Our next grant is to the Community Safety Committee, Angie Damaris. It's to assist with the 20th Annual Community Safety Awareness Day and Bike Rodeo. This was a fun-filled educational experience aimed at increasing safety awareness. There were interactive displays, emergency response personnel, and a bicycle rodeo. And I see the fire chief out there. You want him to come up?
Is he out there? Yes, I would.
You're riding?
Come on up, Pete.
Come on, chief.
He's trying to get out of this.
Great job on that. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Tom?
On behalf of all the safety committee members, I would just like to say a big thank you to the Hydro Board for making this happen. We have had a lot of success with our safety committee and launching our Safety Awareness Day. This was year number 20. It was a great day, attended by many, many children. It's a completely free event. Full families come and attend. They take part in all the various activities. They learn about safety. They walk away far more aware than when they arrived. It's a great day, and as I said, it's a completely free event, so that really takes away the barriers to a lot of families. And this year we were lucky enough to add 2 more really important partners to our committee. We've now brought on board the Y and the Optimists, so next year it'll be bigger and better, and just expect great things. Again, I would like to say thank you.
I'll call on Mr. Bruno.
Thank you, Chairman Hunt. It's my pleasure to announce 2 other grants from Port Colborne Hydro Community Fund. First, Port Colborne and District Conservation Club, Kathy and Scott McGuire. I don't know if they're here. Come on up, please. Just reading about them. To assist with the cost. Right. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This grant was provided to assist with the cost of the kids' fishing derby on Father's Day and the recent 444 Walleye Tournament, which is a major fundraiser for the club to assist the club in promoting conservation by raising walleye and releasing them in our local waterways. Kathy, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Would you like to say a few words?
My husband couldn't make it because we started, I guess, Wednesday morning. We've been up from 5:30 and we've been going almost to midnight. This was our 444 tournament weekend. We had 91 boats come from all over down in the States, London, Toronto, Hamilton, Port Colborne. It was just a fabulous success. The weather was great. We sold lots of beer, made money. Everybody was happy. People can't wait till next year. And we really couldn't do it without the support of Port Colborne. It was amazing. And our kids' derby, which was the weekend before, the weather, again, was great. We had 275 kids register. We fed over 600. Kids had a blast. No complaints from anybody except we're just exhausted. So, but thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Kathy.
Well done.
And next, an organization that's been around only for a few years, but have done great work and a real leader in their field in Niagara. We should all be proud. Port Colborne Feline Association, Yvonne Potiok. Is Yvonne here? This grant is provided to assist with the cost of the trap, neuter, vaccinate, return free-roaming cats currently reproducing in East Village area of Port Colborne. Yvonne, congratulations and thanks for your good work.
I just want to thank from our organization, thank the Hydro, for giving this to us this year, and our work with EVAC is really making a big difference in making the community much better for everybody in that area. Also, the whole organization is coming up. We're working towards our 1,000th cat put through our organization on all levels of all the programs that we do. It's for low income and others too, but this money is earmarked for the East Village. Thanks very much.
Director Bill.
Thank you, Len. First is Save Our Lighthouses, Erno Rossi, $1,160. This is to assist with the cost of restoring the 2 lighthouses to their original condition and to continue to bring visitors to visit them during canal days and also when weather permits. Erno, come on up. Perfect.
On behalf of the Friends of the Port Colborne Lighthouses, to City Council, Your Worship, your Mayor and guests, we want to thank you very, very much. We are a grassroots organization. I know there are many causes, but you've made a very astute choice. I grew up in this community, but I don't live here. But I certainly believe in the cause, and my family still lives here. And what we're trying to do is restore 2 wonderful heritage lighthouses, one built in 1906 and the other one 1928, which were declared surplus by the federal government. And the intention is to retain the maritime heritage in Port Colborne. There's a lot of money been spent in Canada on restoring grist mills, but not a single dime has been spent on restoring lighthouses. So our grassroots organization is quite passionate about this. Our intention is to make this a very sustainable entity over a 5-year program, sustainable environmentally and sustainable financially. There's nothing like it in Ontario. You cannot go and visit a lighthouse anywhere in Ontario and stay there, for example. And our intention is to keep this in the public realm. And for those, I'm sure you all know, but these lighthouses really graced the south entrance of the Welland Shipping Canal for virtually a century until they've been declared surplus. And it was one of the great, and still is, one of the great commercial shipping lanes of the world. So we have something very special here, a couple miles from here, and we thank you very much for your support. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the South Niagara Rowing Club. Kevin Fuller is president and head coach. And the Swede, he's coming up. The funding will assist with repairs needed to the main launch and return docks. The 2 docks are approximately 70 feet in length and are used by all club athletes for getting on and off the water. These are 14 years old, and the decking needs to be replaced for safety reasons. Okay. Thank you. Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
A few words. Thank you very much. On behalf of the South Niagara Rowing Club, I'm Swede, the head coach, and this is Kevin Fuller, the president. Just to let you know that from those docks came many champions from different high schools this past spring. In fact, 2 weeks ago, 8 gold medals from E.L. Crosby came out of those docks, 17 medals total from different high schools. And out of that mix, we have one athlete, Nick Tavares, who will be representing Canada as a junior athlete in Europe and within 2.5 weeks. So the rebuilding of these docks helps in nurturing and getting excellence from our fine high school athletes. Thank you very much.
The next check that's going to be presented is to Port Cares. This is the final installment toward a $22,000 commitment made. and this is their final installment for their capital campaign. And it's also a pleasure to welcome the new Executive Director, Christine Clark-Leffler. And if you would come forward and accept the check. Thank you. Scott McLean as well. Thanks.
Thanks, B. And I'm Scott.
I know.
Congratulations. Nice to see you again. Welcome.
Very good, thank you.
Congratulations, by the way.
It's my pleasure to introduce our new Executive Director. I'm Scott McLean. I'm the Chair of the Board of Directors for Port Cares. And anyone who doesn't know, Port Cares is a nonprofit, community-governed agency that provides leadership, support, and resources to improve the quality of life for those members of the area who are in need. And as I say, we're very pleased to have Christine Clark-Leffler be our new Executive Director. And she's with me here right now. And just as a bit of an introduction, she has been in the executive world for more than 20 years. And she has worked in healthcare, the communications field, and in the executive administration to Brock University, where she was the executive director to the Office of the President. She's also been the chief communications officer with the Niagara Health System and director of community relations for the former St. Catharines General Hospital and the Niagara-on-the-Lake Hospital. In addition, Christine has extensively been involved as a director of the Provincial Trillium Gift of Life Network. Christine has an honors Bachelor of Arts degree in communications and is currently completing a Master's of Arts degree in information studies at Athabasca University. Her leadership and her dynamic personality is a perfect fit for the social service agency, Port Cares, and she's only been on the job 6 days and she's already generating funds, so we're really, really pleased about that. And I'd like to introduce Christine Clark-Leffler.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Port Hydro and City of Port Colborne. This is a real honor to start off this week being so supported by such a wonderful community. I mean, these monies, you know, go to the facility that I think the heart and soul of Port Cares operates out of, the amazing volunteers and staff and the community support we receive. Some incredible opportunities to support the community, and we can only do that through your support. So thank you very much. Thank you for the warm welcome to Port Colborne, and great to see so many familiar faces. And yes, I am Emile Lafleur's mother. So I was just looking at Principal Gifford here. So, and hi Wyatt, nice to have you over. I'm sure we'll see you at the breakfast table again. So thank you very much and truly appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I know the hair is a little longer. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
The next check I get to present is to the 79 Linton Davies Air Cadet Squadron. Don't they look fine as they come up, these young? It's just amazing. Anyways, this is to assist with the cost of purchasing camping supplies to be used for the annual overnight cenotaph vigil, which is held at H.H. Knoll Park, and now the new cenotaph being built in Wainfleet. The camping equipment will also be used for overnight stays at Springfield training exercise, band overnight training, weekend and Niagara Air Group mass field training exercise.
I'd like to say thank you to Port Colborne Hydro, City Council, and longtime friend of the squadron, Mayor Badaway. Just for those of you who may not be aware, the Air Cadet program is a youth organization open to anyone between the ages of 12 and 19. Our big point of pride is that it's a free organization. There's no enrollment fees, no registration fees, and part of the reason that we are able to keep this program free is because of the continued support of your organizations, and thank you very much.
Well, I have the pleasure to not only introduce, but as well present checks to the final two recipients. First being the Friends of Roselawn Center, Ms. Nancy Meisner. Nancy, if you want to come on up. And this is to assist with the cost of site cleanup and construction of 4 to 6 themed gardens on the site based on the historical gardens at the Roselawn Center for the Arts. This is the first of 3 phases. Nancy? Congratulations. Well done. Well done. Well done.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks to the Hydro Fund for Port Colborne and the committee that responded. Thank you, Bea, and your group. To the city as well, because this has been in partnership. The gardens have begun to be cleaned up, and we've established a few new gardens there so far. We've had help from the Parks Department and who else? The gardener.
Parks, community services,
The engineering operations, everybody's getting involved in trying to resurrect the heritage gardens. We look forward to replanting some of the heritage plants which had died over the years since the designation, so that they will be replaced, and establishing what we hope will be new complementary things to the gardens for Roselawn. This is a great help. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The final presentation is to the Niagara Antique Power Association. If I can call up Ms. Barbara Dobermeyer. Barbara, come on up. The funds will be used to assist with the cost of putting tracks and doors on their pole shed to provide a safe closed-in area to store equipment needed to do upkeep of the show grounds, and a place for members to work on projects that will enhance the appearance of the show area. And I have to say, as a caveat to that, if you folks haven't been to the Antique Power Show, by all means, get out there. It's just phenomenal, especially for the kids. The kids just absolutely love it. A lot of history there, and of course, that's where we came from. And to those folks that are involved in putting that on, they should be really congratulated, because it's quite a show. And if you haven't been, please get out there. And I'm sure Barbara will tell you the dates of when it is, and really plug the show. So Barbara, welcome. Good to have you out. Come on up.
On behalf of Niagara Antique Power Association, we wish to thank the Hydro Board for this grant. They are really helping us to accomplish a lot of the things that we have to do. This is our 42nd year, and the show is this coming Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And the year's theme is Militaria, and we will have tanks and guns and things from the First and Second World Wars, and then some other things. And there are new features. There will be an 1812 reenactment, and we have quite a few new things this year, so we invite everyone to sincerely come out and join us and have some fun. And the food is good, too.
And this is for you. You're welcome. Good job. Good job. So here's Lynn.
Does any member of the board want to give any presentation or greetings? Well, thank you very much for coming. We do appreciate the work that's being done by all these groups, because most of them are volunteers, and that's the fabric of our community. You should watch the ads in the paper coming up, because we do 2 grants a year, although the funds are getting more scarce. We're also going to do more of a follow-up to make sure that the funds that are handed out go for the things that we approved. So thank you very much for coming. We appreciate your work.
Well done, Len. And I want to thank, on behalf of council, members Hunt, Bruno, Kenny, and Steele, who worked extremely hard, not only spending money, but also throughout the year with respect to not only hydro-related activities, but also fiber and energy-related activities that impact you, the citizens of Port Colborne, in particular the business community as well as the residents. But also, as Len alluded to, being the fabric of the community, you folks. There's no question, as we heard about a lot of the activities that you are participating in, that's what it's all about. That's what community is all about. And for all you folks, not only those that you're attaching your efforts to, much is well needed throughout the community, but and that's the what. But equally as important is the how it's being done. And with the volunteers, the volunteer hours, I know Rita at Community Living, the volunteers that you have there are just outstanding. But all of you, and not just within the community, the school communities, and of course the different people that are involving themselves with really ensuring that those folks throughout the city are being well looked after at all ages. Looking after our facilities, Nancy, Erno, and Mr. Palma, there's no question that members of council, but more importantly, members of the community, truly appreciate your participation, your volunteering, and of course, ensuring that Port Colborne's a better place because of the time that you put into it. So to all you folks, thank you. And what we're doing by giving our contribution is the very least we can do. Hopefully someday we can give more. Members of council might want to give more, but at this time there's something being given, and I think ultimately it's what's being given, not just cash and monetary, but also your volunteer hours to ensure that those things that have to be done are getting done. So good on you. Congratulations to each and every one of you, and we thank you for your participation in your community. Thank you. Okay, folks, if I can now call up Ms. Janet St. Amand, YMCA of Niagara, as well as the CEO, and Terry Cease, the YMCA of Niagara Board of Directors, volunteer. Oh, Terry's going to come up first. With respect to the Port Colborne YMCA Year 2 plan and update to members of City Council as well as the community. Terry, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you out tonight.
Mr. Mayor. As a volunteer board member with the YMCA of Niagara, I'm pleased to present to you this evening, along with Janet St. Amand, our CEO, an overview of the Port Colborne YMCA. My name is Terry Cease, and I have to say that I am proud of the impact this long-term partnership between the City of Port Colborne and the YMCA has had in strengthening our community in such a short period of time. Mayor Badaway, council members, and members of the public, Janet and I would like to provide you with an overview of 3 items this evening: the YMCA Year 2 program and financial plan, the interim results for the 6-month period ended February 28, 2014 of actual results compared with our budget or our plan, and finally the capital plan for the YMCA in Port Colborne. The detailed YMCA report has been included in the council package. For clarification, the YMCA's year end is August 31st, so the Year 2 plan covers the period September 2013 to August 2014. Basically tying in with the school year. So we basically parallel the school year. All in all, like the 2 delegations before us this evening, this is a good news story. One that we can be very proud of, knowing that we have accomplished more together in serving Port Colborne than we could as individual organizations. Of course, the real story is the impact the Y has on individuals and families. So let me introduce Charlotte Arnold, a Port Colborne resident, a YMCA member, along with her family, and she's going to share with us her YMCA story. Charlotte?
Thank you. When the YMCA first came to Port Colborne last year, we really had no idea it would have such an impact on our family. We joined the first week, and we have been regular attendees ever since. As I cannot swim well, we decided to get the kids into swimming as soon as possible. The older ones right away in the 3 to 5 year age group, and our 3rd child on his 3rd birthday. The swim instructors are wonderful, especially with our older son who is really struggling to advance. The patience and skill with which the instructors work is really exemplary. Our younger children, now 2 and 3, have flourished in the play center, and the youngest enjoys it so much that sometimes she refuses to leave with me. The 3-year-old now gets to play in the Active Kids program, and it is amazing how much energy he's able to burn off in 90 minutes. And because his program and the play center hours overlap, I'm able to work out, participate in a class, or unwind in the lobby with a good book. As a stay-at-home mom, I cannot express properly my gratitude for the quiet time that the YMCA affords me just by being a member. Running on a treadmill at home is impossible with 2 youngsters underfoot. The staff at the YMCA are all very friendly, and I always feel very welcome when I'm there. Active Kids, the Play Center, and now the Saturday Morning Club have helped encourage self-confidence in our children. They've also learned about sharing, turn-taking, patience, listening, following directions, and being away from mom and dad without having a meltdown. It's truly been a blessing to have all these other adults willing to help mold and encourage and teach and guide our children. They say it takes a village to raise a child, or is it to raise a family? Well, we have found our village in the YMCA community, and thank you for having us.
The investment in a healthy development of children today is an investment in the healthy community for tomorrow. Thank you, Charlotte, for sharing your great YMCA story with us around the impact the YMCA has had both yourself and your family. very much appreciated. I'm now going to call on Janet St. Amand to speak to the YMCA annual update.
There you go. Just wanted to see Charlotte and her family, a picture of them, and I want you to know that the children are at the YMCA right now, so this is kind of date night at council for them, so that's that is pretty exciting. It's my pleasure to be before council again and share highlights of our Year 2 report with you. I want to acknowledge our partnership. Let's see if I can. And the multi-year service agreement that was struck in June 2012, just 2 years ago, between the City of Port Colborne and the YMCA of Niagara, that positioned the Y to provide service within the Valley Health and Wellness Centre. This unique partnership enabled the city to leverage YMCA expertise in serving the needs of citizens based on 154 years of charitable service in Niagara. The relationship has enabled the Y to fulfill its mission of strengthening the spirit, mind, and body of individuals through the provision of quality community services that are open to all. We've accomplished much together in the past 2 years, designing a facility, designing a partnership, and opening and operating a great community asset. And I want to acknowledge the collaborative relationship between city staff and the YMCA leaders at all levels. A partnership on paper is one thing, living it is another. And I appreciate working with Peter, Harry, and Bob in the planning and development of the operations of this important community asset. And I know the same collaboration is present with our staff at the senior leadership level, as well as the staff on site that provide a positive experience for participants each and every day. Having opened a few new Ys in the past, I typically expect that the first year or so of any new operations always has its challenges as you work through the kinks. But the Port Colborne YMCA has been a fairly smooth experience, one I think we can be proud of, and that ultimately benefits community. Oops. Oh, wrong way. As Terry noted, I'd like to review the 3 areas of the Port Colborne YMCA. First, the Year 2 program and financial plan that begins September 2013 and ending August 2014. Secondly is the Year 2 combined Quarter 1 and 2 report of actual program and fiscal results. And finally, the capital report. As Terry mentioned, you have received a detailed report along with current program brochures as part of tonight's council package. I'd like to take a moment and highlight some key items from that report and then welcome your comments and questions. First, though, I'd like to provide an overview of the YMCA's key areas of impact. I have to get better fine motor skills here, I guess. We are building leaders. The YMCA employed 68 staff and increased our volunteer team threefold to 45 volunteers, contributing their time and talent. Both these volunteers and staff have received specific training and certification that expands their talents and skills. More specifically, in the 6-month period, the Y, as part of YMCA Canada initiative, has increased its investment around enhancement of child protection through policy, practice, training, and evaluation, all of which raises the bar in providing safe and quality experiences for children and vulnerable adults. We also increased training around health and safety. These 2 initiatives are just part of a comprehensive system and processes with staff, volunteers, and facilities that focus on quality and mitigate risk. In the first 6 months, we have had over 460 visits by youth at our Friday night drop-in program, which augments the youth action program taking place at Steele Street School. Building leaders, philanthropic leaders, has resulted in close to $5,600 in charitable gifts that support the Y Strong Kids campaign that help provide financial assistance to children, ensuring the Y is open to all children. Next, we enhance health and strengthen families. We experienced in the last 6 months an average of 2,586 members on roll. 73% of members have joined as a family. And again, that's an amazing number. As people strive to find ways to come together as families, this is one place, the Valley Health and Wellness Center, where it can happen, and that's reflected in our membership numbers. 20% of our YMCA members received financial assistance. Another amazing number is in the last 6 months, 11,000 YMCA visits is what we experience on the average each of the last 6 months. This is based both on member visits and community participants. And there's a chart that outlines those areas of community participants. And after investing in staff and volunteer fitness training and certification in the first 6 months, we have just launched in the third quarter a new program called Power Fitness, remaining relevant to emerging needs as it relates to health. We create opportunities for the healthy development of children and youth. Children and youth represent 45% of the WISE membership base. And please note that while our current membership numbers are slightly higher than planned, we keep to strict child-to-staff ratios to ensure the quality programs, so that as the number of children increase, so does the number of staff and the investment in staff costs. Our YMCA Leader Corps is very active at this Y. In the last 6 months, children have enjoyed 171 camper days at March break and holiday camp, and summer camp is just getting ready to open soon. As noted, 11,000 visits to the Y each month includes thousands who are involved in branch activities such as open swim and family swim, day passes, the youth drop-in center, the youth dances, birthday parties, and the Ontario Early Years Center, babysitting, and much more. So in partnership with you, the Y has had an amazing impact in the second 6-month period as we strive to strengthen the foundations of community. As noted, there are countless stories to tell which illustrate the intangible benefits of the YMCA. Involvement in recreation and leisure can help lead healthier lives in spirit, mind, and body. Every day our impact is felt when an individual makes a healthy choice, when a mentor inspires a child, and when a community comes together for common good. The Port Colborne Year 2 plan is based on the strong community response in Year 1, and programs continue to expand and grow. As always, financial assistance is available to those families and individuals who are unable to afford to participate based on their financial circumstance. It is always done in a confidential manner and is based on individual circumstance. The Y is meeting or exceeding its promise to the community with a large volume of community access by both members as well as community participants. Key assumptions for the Year 2 plan include a membership on roll of 2,516, members linked as family at 72%, financial assistant at 25%, Our youth member mix compared with adults is around 45%. Financially, the total net is estimated to be $35,000, and our deferred capital depreciation is estimated at $126,000, which has recently been finalized after completing the last startup capital investment early in the spring. Our program per week on average is 244, and the total program hours are on average 288, and there is a chart that depicts that. That was also in your package. So moving on to year two, the first and second quarter, the first 6 months, generally the Y has met or exceeded all targets. The total revenue and total expenses are very close to plan, with the operating net better than plan. Our member on roll is solid, and that is expected to decrease slightly over the summer months, which is a normal cycle for the Y. Programs are regularly evaluated and adapted to ensure the quality and relevance is there, and the Power Fitness introduction is a good example of that. You might be aware that one of the capital investments was the addition of a gym curtain that allowed us to actually divide the gym into 4. And as we program for families, we want to be able to provide relevant, age-appropriate programs happening at the same time so families can come together. And so that additional curtain has allowed us to do that. So the Y will have seasonal program schedules that reflect seasonal participation fluctuations and ensures efficiency. So in summary, the Y service targets for the first 2 quarters are on plan and are close to plan. And you can see both the member and financial numbers are there in summary. And we are in our financial targets for the first 6 months. The result is a total net variance of $28,000, and we expect that to increase over the next few months. Lastly, as a summary relating to capital, we want to ensure that safe, relevant facilities and equipment for all. And so the Y invests in capital. The deferred capital depreciation schedule that's in your package provides a 5-year estimate regarding capital costs. The initial capital investment for the facility design and equipment total $1.1 million, and then there is interest in ongoing operating capital on top of that, which is incorporated into the annual plan. And while that looks like a lot of financial and program numbers, you always want to remember this story and the impact that the Y has. As we look ahead, we want to continue membership and participant growth, continue the strong collaboration that's in place, continue program development and expansion aligned with that membership growth. We want to continue investment and resources to support the community and provide a safe, quality service. We want to strengthen our Strong Kids campaign, continue growth in employment and volunteer base, and continue support through financial assistance to assess programs and services. In a nutshell, we want to continue the impact of strengthening community. So I would like to thank you very much on behalf of Terry and I, and we welcome any questions or comments that you might have.
Janet, Terry, great job. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Members of council, any questions or comments? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. One of the things that, as I'm sure everyone is aware of here, I go quite often. I've lost a little bit of weight working out,
But the one thing that is important here is the staff. I really have to commend the staff that are there. You go there, they always have a smile, they always talk to you, they know who you are. Sometimes they even have you registered in before you even showed up with your card. They go into the computer and they do it and then everything else. That is very important so that the success continues. When people feel welcomed, they want to come back. And that's what's happening there, and it's excellent, okay? And I have to tell you, I'm impressed with their leader, staff leader right now, which is Ben. He's right there. Ben is excellent. The staff like him. Everyone that I know of gets along with him and likes him. He knows what he's doing. You can tell. And I think that we have to remember that a facility like that is a facility for families mainly, and the numbers prove that, and we need to continue on doing that. And it took a long time to get there, but we are now there. And all I can say is thank you to the staff.
Thank you, Councillor. Further comments or questions? Councillor Kenny, then Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I just wanted to ask the presenter, have you reached your projected membership level? Like, I know when you start up, have you reached that now? Are you above what you thought in year 2, or how are you?
Ms. Cinnamon?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Based on our market research, the average member on roll is expected to reach 2,800, and so we have not reached that yet, so we still expect growth over the next few years.
Okay, Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Janet and Terry. Great news story again. Just like the day you guys came in and finally sat down at the table with us when we were designing the Valley Health Wellness Center and got the Y involved, because I think it was one of the best things we've ever done. There's no way the City of Port Colborne is going to run all the programming that you guys do. We just don't have the resources. So you guys do a fantastic job there, and I think Yvo, who's there almost as much as maybe I am on the hockey side of it, but he is there a lot. He and I see each other there a lot. And council, we do appreciate what you guys do. Just a couple quick questions. Under the year 2 6-month results, you show the day pass guest pass at 2,259 passes. Does that include your monthly memberships, or is that over and above your memberships of 2,586?
So that would not include the monthly memberships.
So these are people coming in that aren't members.
Correct.
So you're saying we've got 2,586 members plus an additional 2,259 people that came to use the facility, maybe more than once.
Yes. Visit. It's
4,800
visits.
people.
Visits.
4,800 visits. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not necessarily people, but visits. But that does serve a lot of the public, not only in Port Colborne but surrounding areas. So I do congratulate you on those numbers, because hopefully they transfer into monthly family or single memberships. The other thing I want to mention is that right now, and you mentioned it in your in your handout here, with regards to collaboration. Right now, through Harry's department, I'm leading some community groups through Port Colborne Minor Hockey, Golden Puck, and we're working with the Y very quickly, mind you. We've got a July 1st deadline to get some Trillium funding for the Golden Puck Room, and the whole essence of that is to enhance the Golden Puck Room so that we can get even more activities going in there. I mean, I don't think that's something you guys ever envisioned when you came to us, that you'd actually be in that room, but you've outgrown your space already, so you are in that room. So we're hoping to be able to divide it, have audio visual, whether it be for you guys, for hockey, soccer, baseball, whatever sport, basketball in Port Colborne. What's that?
Dancing in theater.
Yeah, dancing. Yeah, well, you were there, I think, dancing. But I'm just saying the programming that comes out of there, and to utilize that room even more when you can divide the space. I mean, it's a huge space. It's a great space. Community groups use it. Kids' birthdays use the whole facility. So just on that collaboration note, what you mentioned in here, I think it's great, and that we are working diligently with Harry and your staff to get this application written and get it in by the 1st. But we thank you for that.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Steele. Further questions or comments? Members of council? Well, folks, in one word, outstanding. Great work. I think for the most part, along with our existing organizations, such as what Bill belongs to and others, including their many volunteers, the YMCA continues to breathe life into the Valley Center, and of course, with that, the entire community. Together, we have created a more healthy, active, fun community, and you're a great part of that, and for all ages. Sometimes people think it's just for the kids and the youth, but it's not. It's for all ages, and you've accomplished that. I say you have accomplished that, and good on you for that. And for the most part, I think the overall vision of our community's $32 million investment is now being recognized due to the involvement of our partners, including the YMCA. And I think for the most part, the city of Port Colborne, through at least my time here, which is 50 this year, 50 years this year, but even before that, you have helped create something that we've never had, and that's a community hub. So it's not just about the activities and the over 244 programs that you're providing in partnership with our staff, but of course it's become more than that. It's become a place where people see each other on a regular basis, and our lives are so darn busy that that doesn't happen very often unless you have a facility like that. Whether you're there to swim, play hockey, figure skate, go around the track, go in the gymnasium, play bocce, be outside in the soccer and baseball fields, it's an opportunity for folks to see each other. And I think that's equally as important than the physical activity as well. And again, you've created that. So on behalf of all of us and the community, we thank you for that. And I also want to give kudos to staff too. I know Harry and Peter and your staff, as well as Bob, you've made this happen on behalf of the city. So I thank you folks as well, because it is making a difference. I hear it every day.
Good.
And so good on you folks, and congratulations, and thank you for that.
Great. Thank you.
With that, folks, we're now going to move on to our only delegation this evening, someone that frequents the Valley Center quite often, especially with what I'm sure she's going to talk about. But Ms. Susan Brown, on behalf of the Port Colborne Optimist Club, with respect to the Family Day activities being held at H.H. Knoll Park on Canada Day. And Sue, if you want to plug the craft show during Canal Days, you're more than welcome. Sue, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the Port Colborne Optimist, I'm here to tell you that we're holding our 10th annual Optimist Day in the park on Tuesday, July 1st. When I went in to register to get the park for Optimist Day in the park, I was pulled aside and said, you know what, we need to talk. And I went, okay. And they said, the mayor would like to know if you would like to move your Optimist Day in the park to Canada Day. And I thought, well, it can't hurt. So I went back to our committee and said, what do you think? So we are now on for Tuesday, July 1st. So the event is a partnership, as I said, between the City of Port Colborne and the Port Colborne Optimist. The event's going to run from 11 a.m. till 6 p.m. It's a family event. There's going to be live entertainment with Randy Thomas and Joe Crawford. We have food from the Country Boys being there. The YMCA has come on as a partner too, and they're going to be doing the old-fashioned kids games. There's going to be like the sack races and the three-legged races, and they're doing face painting. And that's why Ben was sitting beside me a little while ago. He was telling me all what they have planned for the day. So they're on board, which is awesome. We also have Anna Inflatables bringing a couple bouncers for the kids to jump inside. And the nice part about the whole day, it's free. There's no cost to anybody to come and spend the day with us. The mayor will be there on hand around, I guess they said about 1:30. And the Legion is going to be on hand. They're going to be doing some kind of presentation up on the hill. I'm not exactly sure all about that. And the mayor's going to be talking, and he's going to be cutting a big, huge cake to giving it out to the people. And we also have, when we have our family day, what we do is we approach all the different community and organizations in our area. So we have Girl Guides, we have the Sea Cadets, we have the Lions Club, we have Port Cares, The Fresh Air Fund is going to be there this year with the Terry Fox Run. All of them will have information booths about what they do in the community, information about how they help different programs and stuff. And we also have vendors, crafters that have all different kinds of unique things to sell. New this year, we have what's known as the Ringtail Ranch and Rescue coming. They are a farm, I guess you would call it, in Welland that rescue monkeys and kangaroos and all that kind of stuff. And they are going to be there, and the children can actually interact with these animals. We do also have the Birds of Prey coming. We have the Niagara Power Association. I know they're doing their 3-day show right ahead of us, but they are coming back out for us on Tuesday with their little tractor to go around and give kids rides. We also have the Port Colborne Welland Shriners coming, and they're going to be in their little clown outfits and making their balloon animals all throughout the park, so the kids will get free balloons. And we're also promoting that, making sure that people are bringing their swimsuits and if they want to do a picnic, because the pavilion's there, so that everybody is on board. And the grand finale of the night is that the city of Port Colborne is going to be doing fireworks over the canal. So it's a action-packed Canada Day. So hopefully we get lots of people up at the park. And I will plug the Canal Days Craft Show. We do the Optimist runs the craft show during the Canal Days. We do it over at the Ballet Center, Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 5. And that too is a free event for anybody that wants to walk around and see all the unique crafters. We have over 60 crafters in there. So I'm plugging it.
Of course you are.
Of course I am. So hopefully we'll see a lot of people out at both events.
Great, thank you, Susan. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Members of council, any questions or comments to the presenter? Harry, do you want to add anything?
To you, Worship.
Uh-oh.
No, actually, Sue's been excellent to work with. I know it's a first kick at the cat in terms of collaborating with us to this level, but certainly from booking the park and in terms of working with the Optimist Club and their various members, they've come into the office. We have a meeting tomorrow just to finalize a few minor details. But she pretty well covered the events list quite well, and I know that the fireworks culminate on that night, and we have everything laid out for them to make sure that goes off with a good bang, so to speak. So that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry, are we closing West Street down that night?
Yes, we are, Your Worship.
We are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was in the report. That was approved.
Thank you, Harry. Members of council, any further comments or questions? Just quickly, Susan, thank you.
You're welcome.
Members of council recognize that with the hiatus of Flavors of Niagara this year, we had to fill that void for Canada Day. And by all means, Susan, you and your team have stepped up to the plate to, in fact, do that. So your efforts, the activities, everything that you're doing in the park that day. By the way, when I speak, I'm going to be very short. Okay, Mike? Very, very quick.
I will hold you to that. No, actually, I won't be there.
Cutting the cake, I'll take my time.
I'm actually passing this over. I'm booked away for the vacation.
I heard. Who's making the cake?
Actually, the cake's coming from the British
Bakery?
Bakery,
Yeah.
and one of our new members of the Port Colborne Optimist, Vivian Eglinton, is going to step up to the plate and take on my job at the Canada Day, and
Good.
basically I have to hand it all over to her, and she's like really panicking, but I think she'll be okay.
Well, any help she needs, we're only a phone call away. But great
Yeah.
job, Susan.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And just a message to all those folks watching on COGECO. Fireworks that night, Canada Day night, over on West Street. The road will be closed off, so that's for your safety. So find a parking spot down here downtown, and just like Canal Days, enjoy the fireworks over the Welland Canal. And once again, Sue, thank you. You guys really stepped up to the plate. We appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, folks, we're now going to move on to our public meeting under the Planning Act. Once again, this is a public meeting, Department of Planning and Development Services, Report 2014-42. I'm stealing your thunder, ain't I, Shannon? The subject is the public meeting report for a zoning bylaw amendment, file number D14-072-2014, 736 Weaver Road. Shannon, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The
purpose of this meeting is pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act, and it's to consider an application to amend the City of Port Colborne zoning bylaw 1150/97/81 as amended. The application has been submitted by Brian Pye on behalf of Lori Pye for property known as 736 Weaver Road. Could I just get the aerial photograph up, please? Thanks, Donnie. The notice of public meeting was mailed to property owners within 120 meters of the property on May 30th, 2014. A public notice sign was posted on the property before June the 3rd, and a public notice was also posted on the city's website on June 2nd. The following comments have been received from members of the public. Thank you. From Dr. Philip McGarry and Dr. Joanna Hill of 1393 Fire Lane 1. We object to this rezoning for the following reasons. Our bay cannot withstand more pollution from high-density use such as large gatherings, weddings, and other events. The drains flowing into the lake cannot handle any more water as they have almost overflooded the drain many times, including this spring. This drainage water is polluting the lake and beaches. Dr. Hill is on the Lorain Bay Water Quality Committee. There will be noise pollution, particularly Saturday nights with weddings and other parties. We work at Port Colborne Hospital on weekends and need to get a good night's rest to be effective. There is already noise pollution from Humberstone Raceway on Sundays. We worry our property value will be devalued as the tranquility and peace will be disturbed. Why build this commercial venture in the country without sewer and water services? No existing streetlights. This will disturb the ecosystem of the Carolinian forest. There is no existing parking on Weaver Road, and increased will be dangerous for cyclists and pedestrians, and this is very close to the Friendship Trail. There are no sidewalks on Weaver Road, and snowdrifts are a problem in the winter. Please stop this rezoning as it will disrupt this beautiful lakefront resident zoned area. This proposed purpose is commercial, not agriculture, and not residential. The following comments have been received from agencies. From the Building Division, be advised that any use of existing farm buildings for guests of events will require a change of building permit or a change of use building permit, and the number of washroom facilities required is calculated by the occupant load as determined by the size of the tent. From the Bylaw Enforcement Division and Engineering and Operations, there were no adverse comments. The procedure to be followed this evening will be to present Department of and Planning Development Report 2014-42, to hear any comments from the applicant, to receive questions of clarification from council to the applicant or planning staff, to open the meeting to the public for comments and questions, announce the requirements under the Planning Act for written notice of passage of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, and a brief explanation of future meetings regarding the application. At this time, I would like to present Planning and Development Public Hearing Report 2014-42. I believe I skipped over the purpose of the zoning earlier. The zoning is proposed to be changed from agricultural to A-379 Assembly Hall. The amendment will add an assembly hall as a permitted use on a portion of the property. The applicant is proposing to host private events, such as weddings, as an accessory use to the existing agricultural uses that are occurring on the property, and those are field cropping and a cut-your-own flower farm. The application will also amend the definition of an assembly hall to include the use of land as opposed to just structures, because they're only proposing to use tents and not permanent structures at this time. The draft zoning bylaw amendment is attached to the planning report as Appendix A for your reference. Amendment 6-2009 to the regional policy plan added policies to support value-added uses in agricultural areas. The regional policy plan defines agritourism uses unrelated to agriculture as uses that are considered secondary uses to a farm operation that involve tourism but aren't directly related to agriculture, but they benefit from a farm or rural locations. Those uses include things like bed and breakfast, dining facilities, weddings, educational tours, and similar uses. Policy 6A26 states that agritourism uses that are not directly to agriculture but benefit from a farm location can be recognized and regulated by the local municipality as long as they can meet specific criteria. The City of Port Colborne official plan designates the property as agricultural. Policy 351G of the official plan states that agritourism uses and specialty agricultural uses shall be subject to the following criteria. The scale of the operation is limited and appropriate to the site and the surrounding area. The use has minimal impact on the agricultural operation it is part of and is compatible with the surrounding agricultural and rural uses. The use is limited to low water use and low effluent producing uses, and the site is capable of accommodating the use of sustainable private services. The use does not cause off-site impacts related to infrastructure or traffic. The use does not generate potentially conflicting off-site impacts, and the use complies with other provisions of the official plan. The City of Port Colborne zoning bylaw zones the property agricultural. The following uses are permitted in the agricultural zone. Agricultural uses and buildings and structures accessory thereto, including greenhouses, a single detached dwelling on one lot and accessory structures and buildings, conservation of plants and wildlife, kennels, farm machinery sales and service establishments, and wayside pits subject to the provisions of the Pits and Quarries Control Act. Lands surrounding this property are zoned agricultural and are primarily used for agricultural uses, including a chicken barn to the west. The property is bordered by the Friendship Trail to the north and a golf course to the southwest. This now concludes the presentation of Planning and Development Report 2014-42. The zoning bylaw amendment will permit the use of the property for private events. The Planning Division will provide council with its recommendation report after comments have been received from the public hearing and the review agencies. This report will be available at a future council meeting for council's consideration. At this time, Mr. Mayor, I would like to invite the applicant to comment.
Thank you, Ms. LaRock. If the applicant is in attendance, yes, she is. Welcome. If you just want to, Lori, if you just want to push the button there, you're good to go. Yeah, there you go.
My voice carries quite a ways. My name is Lori Pye, and this is my husband, Brian Pye. Thank you, Mayor Events, Badaway, and councillors for considering this application. Right now, this is our farm. It's called Maple Meadows Farm. And Shannon, which one do I press to advance it? I think just this one. Okay. Oops. It went on its own.
No, we'll fix it for you. There we go.
Oops.
You just want to put the, there you go.
Thank you.
If you just want to roll the mouse, you'll be able to get through it.
Roll the mouse?
Roll it, yeah.
Towards me or away?
We'll find that out in a second. No,
Towards me. Thank you very much. Maple Meadows Farm right now is a 76-acre farm that is landlocked between two different farms. It's 660 feet back from the road, but we do own a 33-foot driveway which gives us access to our farm. When you're looking at the farm right now, you would be looking from Weaver Road back onto the farm, so you can see how far back it sits off of the road. About 5 years ago, we decided to not farm the land ourselves, but to have our neighbor, Dave Bankert, actually maintain and farm our property, with the understanding that all lands now would be farmed only organically. So it's about a 5-6 year process to become organic, and that's what we've done. Back in June last year, we decided that it fit really well for us to have a cut flower farm. I've always been attracted to growing things, and flowers are something that in my advancing age I'll still be able to lift. Straw bales and hay bales are a little bit much for me now. So we started and put in 14 flower beds that would be for cut your own flowers. This Whoops, it's very sensitive. This is what the flowers looked like last year in August. And what we intend to do is invite people to come and stroll through the flower gardens themselves and cut flowers. That's just northwest of the farm. This is going on its own but that's okay. These are some of the flowers. It has a mind of its own. These are some of the flowers that we've grown last year, and we're encouraging people to come and pick. Now, in doing so, a lot of people that came out to the farm said, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to have small events here? And Brian and I thought about it and thought, yeah, it would be wonderful to invite people onto the property to enjoy not only picking flowers, but perhaps having bridal showers, small weddings, that type of thing. All of our flower beds here are also done organically or eco-friendly as well. And we use weed cloth, so we don't have to use herbicides, and we use any pesticides will be done naturally. So this is northwest of the garage that you would see as you drive up to our property. All our perennials and annuals have been planted already. We have 35 beds. And this is standing in the garden facing south towards our barns and house. This is Father's Day this year. And these are my little critters, which I feel very comfortable bringing out into the garden because everything's done so eco-friendly. Right now, this would be standing in the garden and looking out towards the Friendship Trail, which is about 1/4 mile. Our property right now, the house and barns are situated right in the center of the 76 acres. So either way, we have quite a distance between us. Whoops. This would be standing behind the house, looking west towards the property that is behind. And Shannon mentioned that there is a chicken barn there. Where our neighbors farm it. And then further south from there would be Whiskey Run Golf Course. This is basically where the tents would be located, and it would face towards the south. And you can see far off in the distance there's a tree line, and that's actually right before the Groves or the Lorraine roadway that goes through towards the lake area. This is another view from the same area, and one of the reasons that we call our farm Maple Meadows. This is where you'd be standing in the field looking east towards the house and barn. So you can see that you can't see any of the roadway from where the tents or the porta potties would be located. Okay. Down to the lake is also about 1/4 mile, and right here where we're standing is probably about 1,000 feet towards Weaver Road, and it would be tucked in back behind the barns. We have a website that anybody who wants to go and see more information about the farm can go and look at. It's maplemeadowsfarm.ca, and that's basically the type of look that it's going to have.
Thank you.
Do you need me to stay here and answer any questions?
If I may, I'm going to ask members of council if they have any questions or comments. Members of council. Councilor Butters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mrs. Pye, could you talk to us about how you would park folks and where they would be? We've indicated where tents would be and where the gardens are and kind of the lay of the land. So could you talk to us about the parking?
Absolutely. If you drive up the driveway and drive around the barns, right where we were standing to show the house and barns, that's where the parking would be, and it would be field parking. So nothing would be out on the roadway, and it would be all tucked in back behind the barns.
Councilor?
The total area is 660 feet by 500 feet, but that includes our barn, our garage, the flower gardens, and our house. So really, when you're looking at it, it's about 250 feet by 500 feet that would actually be designated for small events.
Could you repeat
The
that?
tent area and parking area would most likely be about 250 by 500 feet.
Councilor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Then could we just talk about one of the people that had wrote in was concerned about noise. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you see that?
Port Colborne has a bylaw, right, that is covering anyone having any noise in any area. And the farm would definitely have to abide by any bylaws that are put in place here. Now, I know there was a couple of emails that went around, and one said that it would be 11 o'clock, and that was my understanding. Now, I know you can apply for permits to have longer durations, but that's something that would have to be done event by event, and it would have to be approved, like any noise bylaw.
Thank you. Councillor?
Okay, and my last question is, you use the word like small events and small, like bridal showers and weddings. Small is kind of a, well, it's a kind of, I guess, subjective. So what might be small to me might not be small to your next door neighbor or your cross the road neighbor. So could you kind of put maybe a number to what you think, what you perceive as small?
Mrs. Budd?
Number-wise, to me, a small event would be around 200 people maximum. But that doesn't mean that I would limit 200 people to being there. I think it has to be looked at as an event and then say, you know, is it reasonable to have that many people on the property at that time? And I don't think we want to do anything that would disrupt our neighbors with the use of the property. I mean, there are events like the Power Steam Association that was here today. They hold events. I'm sure they have to follow occupancy and planning bylaws as well for their events.
Councillor?
And I have a couple of questions for Shannon when we get to that point.
That's fine, thank you. Further members, questions or comments to the presenter?
My husband told me to tell you that all councillors get free flowers, but I didn't think that was appropriate, so I won't go there.
Okay, no more questions or comments? Mrs. Pai, thank you.
That's a good one, thank you.
Mr. Rock, you're up.
Are there any questions of clarification for myself, Mr. Mayor?
Members of council, Councillor Butters, your questions of staff.
Yes, I have a couple actually. When we talk about the area of 660 by 500 feet of space, right? And that includes where the barn and the garage and the gardens and the house are. So how do we determine, or how do you figure out, like say how many cars you can park in that area? Or what, you know, like you have occupancy loads for buildings. Why wouldn't we why wouldn't we have like an occupancy load for this space to be used if that's, if this is to happen?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Butters. We're in the process of doing some research right now to see how other municipalities have handled this, and I'm hoping to have some good answers to put in the recommendation report to you.
Councillor?
And my other questions, I guess, would include, would it be written into the bylaw, or would it be a case-by-case basis to do with the noise? Because I think that that's, like some of the feedback I'm getting from some of the folks is, you know, we have Humberston Speedway on Sunday night, and, you know, that is what it is. And so is it, if events happen there, would it be written in the bylaw like nothing after 11, or would it be a case-by-case basis, or do we not have that ability to restrict those hours?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It would be necessary to require for a noise bylaw exemption for each event that's going to require it. I don't believe that noise is something we can control through the zoning bylaw.
Councillor? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Members of council, any further questions or comments? Councillor, you're it. We do have the report coming to council in the future as well. Okay. With no further comments or questions, Ms. LaRock, it's back to you.
Thank you. Before opening the meeting to the public, I would like to read the following. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the City of Port Colborne before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is approved, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the City of Port Colborne to the Ontario Municipal Board. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the City of Port Colborne before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is approved, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Municipal Board unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. Any interested members of the public, if I might draw your attention to the back of the room, there is a sign-in sheet on the table. If anyone would like future notices about this application, please sign the sign-in sheet and we will ensure that you receive them. At this time, Mr. Mayor, I would like to invite any members of the public to comment.
Thank you, Ms. LaRock. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment? If you want to come up, state your name and your address, that would be great. Shannon, if you want to just grab a seat over here just in case they have any questions for you. Actually, right up front here, right beside Heather. That'd be great. Thank you, Shannon. Sir, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and fellow councillors. My name is Jeremy Frey. I live with my wife, Christine, my two sons, Easton and Lincoln, at 733 Weaver Road. More specifically, Lot 18, part number 2, directly across the street from the Mr. and Mrs. Pye's driveway. My family and I, as well as residents I've spoken with who didn't receive notices because they're outside the 120 meters, I think you said, of the proposed application, are really concerned about the environment, the quietness of our streets. That's nestled just outside city limits. Specifically, without sounding unneighborly, I'm really concerned about the zoning change for a number of reasons. If the proposed zoning change were to happen and allowed to build an assembly hall or put up tents for 200 plus people, the traffic for this narrow country road that it is would be unbearable. Our streets are already overburdened by American residents in the summertime who, quite frankly, don't really obey the speed limits anyway. And added to that, wedding traffic and all those other stag and does, wedding showers, I don't know what else you possibly could have. I just don't think it's a good fit. My driveway specifically is directly across the street from the applicant's driveway. At any given night when cars are driving out of their driveway, their headlights are straight into my front windows, two of which are my son's bedroom windows. The other is a large picture window that I can see headlights at any time a car drives by. I could just imagine how at 11:30, 12 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, how traffic would, like those 200 cars or cars for those 200 plus people would shine right in my windows all night long, and potentially, wake my two young kids. Along with traffic, some of the residents and I were concerned with, because it's a gravel road going in and out all day long, we're on the windward side of the street. The dust created from the driveway would also be sort of a burden. I kind of question the amount of, planning and thought that's gone into this, because it just to me doesn't fit for a quiet residential farming community. With weddings comes traffic, also becomes drinking and alcoholic beverages. If the applicants are to change the zoning bylaw for weddings, stag and does, any other function that falls under the bylaw, with that comes drinking, and we all know that, as we can preach responsibility and be responsible drivers, people don't adhere to those. People leaving at 1 o'clock in the morning, if you've driven on our street at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's dark. After having a few drinks, navigating a long driveway out onto the street from gravel to pavement, I worry that our dark streets will have midnight accidents when people struggle to navigate that driveway. Traffic's not my only concern. It's also noise from the music or announcements, DJs, what have you. On Weaver Road, we're already burdened with Humberson Speedway, like some other people have said already. It's been every Sunday night since I've been a child, growing up in the same house that I live in currently, with the exception of 1 year when it was Friday nights. On any given Sunday in the summer, I can sit in my yard and listen to the races as if they were in my backyard, especially if the wind's blowing the right way. I can even hear the announcers. And I'm 3 kilometers from there. The picture that the applicant showed is about the farm being so far off the street is actually taken from up the street, so the perspective is a little bit off. I don't think it's not quite that far from the road, especially if I stand in my driveway. So if they're allowed to host weddings, even though I've been informed that the tent will be behind the barn, and it's still only about 500 meters from my house, from the edge of my property. I hope that my Saturday nights aren't going to be as ruined as my Sunday nights, especially in the summertime. All of my concerns, really, my greatest concern is about the future. The applicants have had many different businesses already. They said they farmed the property, and I believe they also had a pumpkin farm. If we change the zoning, and the weddings don't fly, and they decide to sell the property, my concern is that the zoning will be, if it's changed, will be attractive to purchase of the property to abuse that zoning bylaw. And then all of a sudden, the residents of Weaver Road are now living beside the likes of Club Richelieu or something. Weaver Road, it's really a quiet residential farming community where you can hear tractors, kids playing, what have you. I hope the planning department understands how the proposed zoning changes will affect everybody around, and hopefully not proceed anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you go anywhere, members of council might have a question or two. Members of council, any questions or comments? With none, great job. Thank you. Any further comments or questions from members of the public? Sir, if you want to come on up, state your name and your address, and you're good to go.
Hi, my name is Mark Leon, and I live on Fire Lane 1. I believe I'm just directly south of Brian and Lori. First of all, I want to commend them for taking the initiative of thinking about trying something new. There's actually a program on TV, I don't know whether you've seen it, the Roloff family, who have a farm and have generated a very nice business from their farm, whether it's hay rides or selling pumpkins or having weddings. And they've been very successful. So I'm really caught between a rock and a hard place. I don't want to make any enemies. I think the previous speaker did a very good job and takes a lot of courage and guts to stand up here and defend his turf, especially with his little children. If he's right across the street, I've never met the man. But I'm directly south, I believe, of the applicants. And I just have a few questions in terms of, first of all, I'm going to vent a little bit to the council about Fire Lane 1, because I just paid my taxes today. I dropped them off at City Hall. And unfortunately, I believe I pay an exorbitant amount of taxes for the privilege of living on Lake Erie. I know I'm blessed, and I know it's a privilege, and I know I'm very fortunate, but on Fire Lane 1, there's no plowing, there's no garbage pickup in front of the house, there's no water service, there's no sewerage. We have to maintain our own roads. And that's true for all the fire lanes, not just Fire Lane 1. All the fire lanes along the lake get absolutely no service and pay exorbitant taxes. But that's besides the point. I'd just like the council to be aware of that. And when you say your prayers at night, to ask God for forgiveness for the high taxes that we pay. But besides that, I think it's very important that we give serious consideration to the applicants and what they're planning on doing. Like the previous speaker said, it is a very serious thing because, God forbid, it wasn't successful or something happened and they did sell the property. Does that change in zoning? Is it grandfathered into the next property owner? And if so, how does that impact the people around the property? I'm concerned about traffic. I'm concerned about washroom facilities. I'm concerned about liquor. Unfortunately, the ditches on Weaver Road are very, very deep, and we've seen a couple of very tragic accidents on that road because of the depth of the ditches. So I don't know whether I should speak for it or against it. I think that if council was considering it, you may consider a temporary change or something to see how it goes. I don't know whether the tents would be a permanent structure or whether they would be put up and taken down after each event. Would the porta potties be left up all the time, or would they be taken down? These are all questions I think that are important to address and to ask. And I'm not going to stand up here and vehemently try to argue against it because I don't know enough about it, but I own a sizable piece of property not too far from them. And obviously I'd be very concerned if it impacted the value of my property, especially in consideration of the high taxes that we pay. I have no idea why that gentleman who lives right across the street would not have received a notice about this application where I did. Maybe because I had to call City Hall to get one. My neighbors all.
That's it, sir. Thank you.
So that's maybe a question that we could address, Mr. Mayor. I think probably because I abut the applicant's property, I think, is the reason why I got it. But I'm just expressing some concerns. I certainly don't want to make any enemies. I know the previous speaker doesn't want to make any enemies as well. I know he's got young children, and certainly I can understand that. I just like the council to be aware of these concerns and also aware of the fact that somebody's taking some initiative that's trying to generate some income and some business, which is great. I'd like to see that. So I just really wanted to vent about my high taxes anyway. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Leon. Before you get off the podium, Mr. Leon, members of council might have a question or two for you. Members of council, any questions or comments? With none, and before you leave, you had a few questions yourself. Shannon, if you can explain about the notice applications.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the presenter. Notices were mailed to everyone within 120 meters of the property. I can confirm that the gentleman across the street, his mailing address for some reason was not updated in the region system, and as soon as he called, we did send him a notice to the proper address.
Great, thank you.
Do you have any idea how many notices were sent out in that area?
Shannon?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Off the top of my head, I'm not quite sure, but because the property is so large and the properties that it borders are so large, there wouldn't be a significant number. We did go a little bit outside of 120 meters along Weaver Road just to spread it out a little bit.
Just so you know, I think this is my property right here. If I'm not mistaken, I think it is. and I believe that's zoned agricultural as well. That property, the taxes that I pay on that property are nothing compared to the taxes I pay on this property.
The waterfront property?
Yeah.
With the big home on it.
Market value, I'll give you 100,000 for it.
Well, and I wanted to touch on that, Mr. Leon, because although it's not the topic of discussion this evening, by all means, I'll give you any opportunity to come into my office and we can talk about, you know, the road that you live on being a private lane, like all the fire lanes are, as well as about market value assessment. And quite frankly, if you take that market value assessment and use the multiplier, the tax rate that the city of Port Colborne establishes, I think you'd be quite surprised in comparison to other municipalities if you were to plug that same market value of your beautiful home, I might add, in other jurisdictions. I think you'd be quite surprised with where you would end up. So, but by all means, I'll give you the opportunity, although not tonight, because it's not part of our discussion this evening, to come on into my office and we can discuss it.
I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Leon.
Thank you.
Members of council, any further questions or comments to staff about that presentation? With none, members of the public, any further comments or questions? Nancy, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Here I am again. Nancy Meisner.
You're becoming a
21
regular here, I tell you. You want to sit around the horseshoe here?
We could drive in together, Barb and I. I live on Fire Lane number 1, and like Mr. Leon, I commend you on the eco-friendliness of your property and the variety of things that you're doing there. However, I live in the hood, you know, and here we go again. I'm before council and planning again about another commercial enterprise in the neighborhood in a farming residential area again. Pinecrest, as you know, the grow-up, and the next main road coming down to us is Weaver. And we're smack in between Fire Lane 1. I do have some concerns. When you say small events and you're saying 200, I'm thinking, wow, that would have been a blowout for me. I'm wondering about the length of the events. A shower might be 3 hours on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, or a wedding might go service and reception, you know, through to 11 o'clock. But what happens if you're approached about a music festival or an all weekend or a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event? You know, where does that stop? An event for an afternoon is one thing. People aren't trying to sleep. Kids aren't being put down perhaps for naps if they're little ones. Driving in the dark, there's no street lights. That's not an issue. But when you start getting into long-term events with more people, perhaps open to the public where you can't control the numbers, I have concerns about that. I'm also concerned, I know you're talking about using porta potties for toilet facilities, but if food preparation of any kind is happening or cleanup, what about the septic facilities? Can they handle the increase in water, you know, the wastewater, you know, if you're doing food preparation and cleanup and that kind of thing? So I'm concerned about the systems that are there for waste. If they start getting saturated, of course, there's that large runoff ditch that goes right down to the lake. Yeah, there we go again, you know, some more environmental impacts not far, probably about 300 to 500 meters from the lake, again, the same as on Pinecrest. So I guess my last concern is, what does that open up for the future for our neighborhood? We're going to have a commercial enterprise on one of the streets that comes down to the fire lane I live on, and then a commercial enterprise on another. It's starting to feel like Commercial Alley is slowly creeping in on these country roads. The roadway is very narrow. Weaver is a narrow road, and with the large ditches. And it narrows at the end with the guardrails, you know, and lets you know, that it's getting very narrow. So those are my concerns right now.
Okay, Ms. Meisner, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Members of council, any questions or comments to the presenter? With none, Nancy, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Right.
Sir, come on up. Mr. Henderson, welcome.
I'm Robert Henderson, and I live on Fire Lane 2. And I first heard about the application through an email that went to our neighborhood and our community in Lorraine. And it seemed odd to me, so I came to the City Hall and I asked for more information and got information from Heather Mahan. Subsequent to that, I made the effort of calling the Pies and was invited to go to their place and have a look around. And I did that. And I'm very appreciative of the fact that I did because Lori gave me an extensive tour, or at least I call it an extensive tour. It was about an hour. Explained both aspects of what they're trying to do. And one of the things that I should go back. I did not plan to come here to speak tonight, but what has not been conveyed is the passion, even from Lori herself, and speaking of what she and her husband are trying to do, is the passion of what they want to do. It has not been mentioned that Brian is schooled in horticulture. So growing flowers is their passion. When the notice went up and it said Assembly Hall, I think it was a total misnomer of what they're going to try and do. And I think it's one of these unfortunate situations where you don't have exactly the right words in the planning department to convey what it is that they want to do. So without looking into it and talking to the actual people and getting their passion for it, on the one hand, you could have the impression that an assembly hall is something that is for the Society of Friends, where they meet once every 3 months on a Sunday afternoon. Or it could be where there's a group of motorcycle owners who roll in there on a regular basis and tune their Harley Davidsons. Only by going and speaking with Lori was I able to find out that there's no building planned at all. And I think that this is a situation where there's a heritage farm. It's been in Lori's family for a number of years, decades, I don't know the exact number. And as she indicated, she doesn't want to farm it in the traditional farming way, but they have an opportunity to do something that is their passion, make it a commercial enterprise. And I think it's important that you remember that free enterprise is one of the things that builds our communities and our societies. And I look at this, and from what I was told, this is a free enterprise opportunity that will fit very well within the community and not be one that is going to annoy the community. And I recognize that there is concerns about increased traffic. When Ann and I moved here 27 years ago, there was a similar conflict about a golf course. And in a few years later, the golf course went ahead, and all those issues about traffic never came up again. So you have a similar situation. In fact, I would say multiply the situation of what the Pies want to do on Weaver Road and compare it to the amount of traffic that comes down a similar distance on Lorraine Road. And I don't, you would be the ones that would know whether there's an issue with traffic on Lorraine Road going to the golf course. It's going to be a fraction of that for what's going to happen at the Pies Maple Meadows. So after I got all the information, I had to think that my neighbors, the McGarrys, Dr. McGarry and Dr. Hill, took information that was based on the notice and reacted to Assembly Hall. And I conclude that because one of their concerns was snowdrifts. Well, flowers grow from May to October. Snowdrifts shouldn't be an issue. Tent events are good for the summertime, not for the wintertime. This is why I think that they didn't get enough information and got off on a wrong tangent based on the fact that this bylaw change refers to an assembly hall. I'm not suggesting that that has to be changed or anything like that. That is what it is. But as councillors making a decision, please realize that we've got people that want to try an enterprise that will hopefully benefit them. And if it's benefiting them, it's probably also going to benefit other people. The other thing that I would mention is that there's been a continuous flow from agriculture to urbanization. I grew up on a farm. My wife Ann grew up on a farm. The generations after us, less and less people are having the opportunity to grow up on a farm. Here's an enterprise where you may hear the noise level being children's laughter as they get the opportunity to see the country, see aspects of, not all aspects of a farm, but some aspects of a farm with their families. So, in conclusion, I'm in favor of it. I hope you will be too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. Well done. Members of council, any questions or comments? With none, thank you once again, Robert. Are there any other members of the community?
Mr. Mayor, councillors, I just want to go on record to say that I'm not against them growing flowers. I'm not against them selling their flowers. I'm against the 200 plus car, or 200 plus people, 100 plus cars going out their driveway at whatever hour of the morning. Bright lights on because it's dark, all shining in my windows. And I'm against the noise from the tents or noise from the announcers, the music, and all those kind of things. I have no problem with them selling flowers. They've offered me flowers. And again, I'm standing here being unneighborly, but it's that concern. I have no problem with the pies and their flower business or anything like that. It's the traffic going out at all hours of the morning.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any more comments or questions from the public? With none, Ms. Lawak? Actually, Shannon, I have two questions, if I may. Is it possible, when you bring back the report, to have different options with respect to, for example, a temporary bylaw being offered, whereby it would have to be reapplied for after, say, 3 years? And there's a cost factor that I don't want to, well, you can recognize it in the report, but not with the intent to, when they reapply, to actually add an additional cost in comparison to the original cost they had. So, for example, they obviously pay for the rezoning. It comes here, as it is now, but after 3 years, they'd have to reapply. And the reason why I say that's twofold is, one, obviously, that the performance can then be measured with respect to how it would operate. It might give some relief to the neighbors to know, albeit concerned now, there may not be a concern then. And the second part of that is, if there is a concern, then I'm sure they would want to know about it so they can address it. So if we can see that addressed in the report, if that's possible, whether council agrees to that or not, I think it should at least be an option. The second part of it is ownership. Another concern I may have as well is that, and I know I shouldn't say Lampman's, but it's Lampman Farm, sorry, Larry. But, and I remember bringing my kids there when getting pumpkins and hay and all that stuff when they were kids, and I do recognize the passion that you've always had for the farm. But with that, it may not be in the family 5, 10, 15 years down the road. You may have someone else take over that farm, and if they have that ability, it may not be the same operation, I'll use that word, as you had left it with respect to what they may do. All of a sudden it goes from what your intentions are to being a full-out concert every Saturday night that can have thousands of people there because they have that right because of the new rezoning. So hence the reason with the reapplying and/or if it could be to a single ownership. So yes, they've got that up with the rezoning, but if somebody buys the farm, they may not have that same privilege. You may be able to cover that through the temporary bylaw with the 3-year as part of that. So it's sort of a question, but also an ask to come back within the report with information related to that.
Sure, we can include that in the report.
Great. Dan, do you have any comments on that as well from your side?
Mr. Mayor, I think it would be best left for the recommendation report. I don't want to tip our hat to what our report's going to say, but we certainly can add that information to the report.
Okay. And again, I'll repeat myself. My concern is that if it leaves the hands of Lori and the traditional farm she's had and she's going to have, and it goes into other hands, then what can happen? So that's what I'm driving at mostly. Okay. Members of council, any further questions or comments? With none, Shannon, back to you.
Thank you. If you wish to be notified of the approval of the zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the clerk. Only those persons in public bodies that give the clerk a written notice for the request of passing of a bylaw will be given that notice. This concludes the public hearing under the Planning Act. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment will be placed on council's agenda at a future meeting.
Great. Shannon, well done. Thank you. Motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Kenny, Councillor Butters, questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. I'll take about a 5-minute recess before we get into the committee of the whole. Okay, folks, if I can reconvene this meeting, and I do want to now move right along with the agenda. We're past the presentations, and we are past delegations, but I do want to get into the committee of the whole meeting now. And with that is the introduction of any addendum items. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's one item that I would like to highlight for council this evening, the addition of item 15, Planning and Development Report 2014-39. This is with regard to the administrative monetary penalty system, and this was circulated via addendum on Friday.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Members of council, I need a motion to confirm the agenda, please. Councillor Steele, Councillor Desmarais, are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. Disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest this evening? None? We'll now move on to, we've already done, the determination of committee reports. Which committee reports do you want lifted, members? I think number 1 has to be lifted because we do have a delegation for that one. Councillor Butters, do you want to lift that, please? Okay. Any further items? Councillor Desmarais.
Item 12, please.
Further items, members? Councillor Danch.
Item 5.
Further items? With none, I'll take a motion to accept the remainder of the items, please. Councillor Desmarais, Councillor Bodner. Any questions or comments to that? All those in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. Now, we've already went through presentations and we've already went through delegations, so we'll go on right into my report. I'll be short and sweet this evening. I do want to highlight something that the city was presented just recently. The city's 5C service program has been selected by the Association of Municipal Managers and Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario, AMCTO, as you know, the organization. Their awards review committee, they've awarded the City of Port Colborne's 5C service program as the winner of the 2014 award in the category of Municipal Administration, Municipal Population less than 20,000. The E.A. Danby Award recognizes outstanding performance improvement throughout and through innovative practices. Members of council, I do have a plaque here from the AMCTO that recognizes that award. And I have to say, this is a great achievement. I think when this council had taken office back in 2010, one of your priorities was to be more customer friendly. And I have to give credit to our staff, led by Mr. Heil, to respond to your thrust during strategic planning, and of course, Mr. Heil and his team putting an action attached to that thrust with respect to your strategy. Not only does the award recognize our innovative 5C service program, the award also recognizes that our team is customer friendly and is eager to work with our residents, our businesses, and future investors, and quite frankly, to the end of getting the job done and ensuring it's in a manner that's expected of us as a service provider, Because let's face it, guys, at the end of the day, this may be City Hall and this may be government, but we are service providers. And we must act in that manner with respect to offering that service in a method that we're expected to offer it in. This award enhances, as you recognize, members of council, our municipality's image as an attractive community in which to live, work, and play, to visit, of course, as well. And it provides an opportunity for our residents to appreciate the work that is being done on their behalf by our team, a lot of which are here in the gallery this evening. But I want to thank you folks, our team, led by Mr. Heil and your directors here across at the table here, who are working hard to learn and to put into practice the standards and skills of the 5C service program, and working towards our mission, serving you to create an even better community. And recognition of this caliber proves that their hard work, your hard work, you folks, your hard work is in fact benefiting our community, our clients, our citizens, and of course our councilors and co-workers, because quite frankly, members of council, you're the communicators and you absorb a lot of what we hear, but those are the folks that really get the job done and ensure that our residents are being looked after. So to Bob and your team, Bob, I congratulate you for taking on council's directive back in 2010 and really making it work and getting the job done with respect to offering the 5C program. And with that, I present this to you and your team. Well done. Great work.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Your Worship, we have a great group of staff, the City of Port Colborne. A lot of them are here tonight, the office staff, library, museum. They all work diligently to try to represent your wishes, to try to provide the best possible service that they can to councillors, co-workers, citizens, customers. It really is moving forward. We receive more compliments now than we used to. The people sitting out there right now and the staff in the office and the other departments really are recognizing that we need to be customer friendly oriented. We need to be, and customer isn't just outside, it's also internal, dealing with each other and with the council. This award is recognized across the province. I know that there have been numerous municipalities have asked for our policies, and they will be implementing similar. We are working right now with the directors at a phase 2, which is real customer service, a Port Colborne experience, not a Disney experience, but a Port Colborne experience, so that people who have to come to City Hall, and they all have to come to City Hall, don't mind coming to City Hall. Nobody comes here because they want to. They come here because they have to. And we want to make sure that their visit to City Hall or with any of the departments is a pleasant one. And that's what we're striving for, and we will continue to endeavor to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Well done. My last piece of for the Mayor's report is with respect to Mr. Heil. The Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators, CAMA, Long Service Recognition Awards Program recognizes and celebrates the dedication to public service and municipal management of their members. This is a significant priority for their association, and these awards are based on the number of years of full-time paid employment in municipal government in a management capacity, i.e. a chief administrative officer, or reporting directly to a chief administrative officer. And they are granted at 10 years and given in 5-year increments. This year, our municipality, the City of Port Colborne, the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators acknowledged the commitment of our Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Robert Heil, for his 30 years of municipal service in a management capacity. And it's my pleasure this evening, on their behalf, to recognize Mr. Heil. He's received his recognition pin at CAMA, but I thought it was appropriate that this evening we recognize Mr. Heil's 30 years of dedicated service. And I work with Bob every day, and I can attest to his dedicated service. But not only with the city of Port Colborne, but his time with many other municipalities showed his past. And of course, with that, Bob, congratulations on 30 years. I'm very happy that CAMA took the opportunity to recognize you, but again, I thought it would be appropriate to do the same this evening publicly at our council meeting. So, well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Now, I told Bob today in his office, I said, you know, it's funny, he's going to audition for this part for the Operatic Society in the fall. So he's grown his hair and he's grown his beard. And it was actually surreal when I walked in his office today and I opened his door to talk to him about a few things, and he was sitting there with his glasses down like this. And I thought, Santa Claus. So now every time we get a great, maybe 5 or less class come in, I'm going to actually tell those kids that during the summer months, we actually employ Santa Claus during the off season. And I tell you, the way he's looking, they're going to believe me. So they're all going to go home and say, never mind the mayor, Mom and Dad. Guess who I met? Santa Claus, and he's working in the city for a Colborne. Great job, Bob, and congratulations once again for 30 years of great dedicated work. So with that, members, I'll now move on to councilors' items and new business. Are there any councilors' items or new business? Councilor Bodnar and then Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Agolina. I've been driving down Empire Road and see the stakes in the ground for Birdie Golf Cart expansion, the new building we're going to make. And I just wondered if you could share with council when you decide, because I believe it's your decision on site plan. I wonder whether you could share that with council by email or something like that, just so we know in case there's questions from the public. So just like your comments on that.
Mr. Aquilina.
Through Mr. Mayor to Councilor Bonner, we have been meeting with Birdie Golf Carts, and we are actually meeting with them again this week. They are anticipating submitting a site plan application, complete with drawings. And one thing that I would do for council's information to share with constituents is that when those drawings come in, I can provide those to members of council. And then once that actual final agreement is in place, I again can share that information with council to then bring forward those concerns or plans to the constituents of the municipality.
Thank you. That's fine. Councilor Doucette.
I just thought I'd like to let the community know that the little parquet next to the fire hall and next to DeWitt Carter, they started today. So if they've just started, they pulled it out today. The new one is coming. The possible end date is Friday, they were saying, but depending on weather, it may be a little later than that. But they started it today, so get ready. There's a new little parquet coming.
Any further new business? Councilors' items. Councilor Bodnar.
All right, just like to comment on the event that was held in court, the arts event, the art crawl, and I got there in the evening about, I think it was about 8:30. I was there, Councilor Dance, Councilor Elliott, and it was, the street was alive. It was really good to see, and there was some fantastic artwork there. Willie McLeod, that is a local guy from Gasline initially, and he had some metal sculptures there. That one where he made some things out of what a lot of people may throw out. It was pretty fantastic stuff, but there was all kinds of great artwork and everything. And I talked to a few of the merchants. They said most of the day it was very busy, and it was a great event. So we'd like to see more of that, and I would encourage them to make it better the next time.
Okay, thank you. Further new business? Councilors' items. With none, we'll now move on to staff responses. Updates, guys? Bob? You're fine?
Nothing to add, Your Worship.
Great, thank you. Members of council, I do have item 11, which is the adoption of the minutes. The minutes of the 15th meeting regular of Committee of the Whole, dated June 9th, 2014. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Doucette, Councilor Danch, questions, comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to the consideration of the items being lifted. We'll start off with item 1. Councilor Butters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
This is Department of Engineering Operations, Engineering Division Report number 2014-21. Subject Information Report, Port Colborne Operations Center Environmental Assessment Status Update. The recommendation reads as follows, that the Council of the City of Port Colborne endorse the Port Colborne Operations Center Technical Advisory Committee's recommendation that alternate 1 north of Fire Station on the island be selected as the preferred location for the future operations center. As well, we have David Stewart of Prism Partners, and he will be providing us a presentation with regards to this report.
Thank you,
Mr.
Councillor
Mayor.
Butters. Do I have a seconder to that recommendation, please? Councillor Danch. Before I go into questions and comments, Mr. Stewart, if you want to come on up and make your presentation, that would be wonderful. David?
Your Worship.
David, welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of Council. On behalf of the Technical Advisory Committee, it's my pleasure to present a brief overview of the project. Many of the members of Council have attended a number of the public information centres, but this is a summation of those 3 items, and will offer an opportunity to ask further questions. Could I have the presentation up, please? Thank you. A couple of quick photos of where your staff are working from today, from the Parks Department and the Works or the Operations Department. Oh. And where we are in the process, the municipal class environmental assessment process is laid out, and it has a number of phases from initiation through to the implementation. We've reached the end of phase 3. The Technical Advisory Committee has looked at alternatives and is making a suggestion to Council to move forward with one of those alternatives. Following adoption by Council of a preferred alternative, we would file an environmental study report with the Ministry of the Environment. They would grant 30 days for further input, and if there are no objections, and they don't have any objections, then we would then be free to move forward with the next stages of design and implementation. A quick aerial view of the existing Public Works facility on King Street. The site is very constrained. It's not conducive to renovation, and would be difficult to try and work on over the long term. Oh, I'm going the wrong way too. I'll get there. I'm sorry about this. Very sensitive. All right. I'll try and use a smaller finger. All right, and an aerial view of the existing Parks Yard, which has been further constrained by the sale of the arena. Again, the facilities are older, and they don't suit the city's operations at this time. The Technical Advisory Committee took into account a number of considerations in deciding on alternative locations. Firstly, ownership. Public ownership is preferred, or long-term leases. If we were looking at private ownership, one of the criteria would be the ability to either enter into a long-term lease or purchase the site outright. The site, based on the area required, would be approximately 5 hectares or 12 plus acres. Zoning, the candidate site should be zoned industrial or for public use. Servicing, municipal water and wastewater servicing is preferred to the development of private services. Access, ideally on an arterial or collector road, and be adjacent to the populated area of the city based on the services that are provided from the location. As much as possible away from residential uses. Connection to the community. Proximity to the urban area and connection across the Welland Canal are very important considerations. And environmental constraints. We took into account as much environmental background data was available in terms of any potential contamination from previous uses of the property as we looked at the alternatives. Following that, the preferred alternative, actually as we looked at it, we looked at renovation of an existing facility or design and construction of a new. The preferred alternative is design and construction of a new facility. It would allow the combination of operations and parks in one location. It would allow to provide for adequate staff and visitor facilities in accordance with applicable legislation and regulation, including the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act and some of the occupational health and safety requirements that your staff require based on the work that they conduct. The chance for the building and the site to be designed with sustainable design and operational concepts incorporated. So an energy efficient building, an easily accessible building for staff and visitors. The opportunity to better manage resources and equipment across divisions, the potential for sharing of equipment, reduced operating costs, improved energy efficiency, and to have some potential for expansion on the site. I'll get it. Okay. Come on. No, that's not doing it. I'm sorry about this. Okay, thank you. Great, thank you. So site number 1, the city-owned property north of the fire hall on the island. Site number 2, city-owned property on Invertos Drive. Site number 3, city-owned property at the Highway 140 employment lands. Site number 4, Port Colborne Quarry lands. Site 5, the existing site at West Street. And Site 6, East Harbour, St. Lawrence Seaway Management Corporation lands. After a fairly extensive review, the Technical Advisory Committee determined that the preferred site would be Site 1, the city-owned property north of the fire hall on the island. The 6 sites are shown in the city, with site number 1, the preferred alternative, being central on the island. The preferred site, alternative site number 1, site advantages: city-owned. Because of the construction of the fire hall not too long ago, there are well-known documented geotechnical conditions. We know what we're going to encounter, or we believe we know what we're going to encounter, certainly with more certainty than we did with the previous location. There's adequate acreage to accommodate future expansion and development. Good logistics. It's located centrally in the city. In terms of co-locating with the fire department, excellent access for the fueling facilities, immediate access to the maintenance. I'll make a quick note. The preliminary design includes a maintenance and repair bay that is adequate to take the largest piece of equipment that the city owns interior, which is the aerial truck. Existing city fiber optic link that goes to the fire hall now can be used, which could be a savings of at least $100,000. Meeting and training facilities can be shared amongst various city departments, either those that exist in the fire hall or those that are to be constructed. Those needs can be taken into account as we design the facility. There will be additional space on the property for possible other future city or government services, police, EMS, other uses that would be good to be co-located on a site with other municipal services. And there are municipal services, water and wastewater, readily available. Quick principal reasons for the rejections of the other 5 sites. The Invertos Drive industrial lands, there was the distance for the operations and parks department to service those built-up areas in the city. It is the last remaining serviced industrial lot available for sale by the city. And existing interest in the use of the property for agri-food processing exists now. The Highway 140 employment lands, again, distance for service to the urban area, and the high cost of provision for municipal services. There are no municipal services readily available, and there could be a significant schedule impact due to the need to design and construct those services. The Port Colborne quarry lands are not city-owned. Again, there would be a high cost and schedule impact in terms of providing municipal services, which are not readily available. Site number 5, our existing public works site, it also is not city-owned. It is an inadequate size for the redevelopment, and its irregular shape would make it very difficult to try and reuse. We believe there may be some soil contamination on the site from previous uses, and that soil contamination, if it has to be dealt with as part of our project, could have a schedule impact. And finally, the East Harbour lands, again, they're not city-owned. There could be a delay in negotiating the purchase or sale of the site. There has been significant soil contamination identified. which leads us to some unknown costs for that soil contamination remediation, which again would have an unknown scheduled impact. At our Public Information Center number 3, we presented a preliminary schematic plan that showed the new operations center and the salt building and wash bay at the far extreme north of the property, leaving an area between the new building and the fire hall. As a result of, actually, if we flip to the next slide, just quick summary of the facilities. It's approximately 4,054 square meters. And that includes the administration and staff facilities, building operations, so your mechanical and electrical rooms, stores, operations and storage, mechanic and interior vehicle storage, exterior covered storage, and a sand salt dome with an integrated interior wash bay. There will be parking, fueling, and circulation areas of about 10,000 square meters, and unpaved fence outdoor material storage of approximately 5,000 square meters. At this time, our best guess for a preliminary cost estimate is $11,419,000. That is based on a Class D estimate that was prepared for the Stonebridge site and adjusted based on what we know about this site. The reason we've seen these costs increase from the 2009 reports are changes in the regulation. The building code has gone through 2 new iterations since that building would have, or that report would have been prepared. This building has been designed to post-disaster design standards. So it would be designed to withstand the largest wind and seismic events forecast for this part of Ontario and be fully operational after such an event. And the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act has added significant costs and size to buildings. Corridors are wider, washrooms are larger, etc. The staffing capacity in 2009, the building was designed for a staff of 24. The building today is designed to accommodate both permanent and seasonal staff of 66. Cost of construction 2009 to today, 2 to 2.5% per year on average. And we believe that the adequacy and completeness of our design, we've taken both existing requirements and room for future growth into the building and accommodated that and tried to provide a good working environment. In terms of comparators, as it turns out, there's 2 municipal operations center under construction in Ontario right now, in southern Ontario, and one that was finished, I believe, 2.5 years ago. Town of Oakville North Operations Center is presently under construction, and it has a cost of a little bit of over $3,000 per square meter. The Town of Milton Operations Center is also under construction right now, and it has a cost of a little over $2,500 per square meter. But I should caution that does not include their sand and salt dome. It was built 2 years ago under a separate contract, and now they're locating their operations center next to the existing sand and salt dome. The Town of Newmarket Operations Center is $3,300 per square meter. And at present, the City of Port Colborne Operations Center has an estimate of $2,836 per square meter, which puts us right in the ballpark of where other municipalities are seeing costs. At our Public Information Center number 3, and at at earlier meetings, issues raised regarding the preferred site number 1, included the proposed location is too close to adjacent residential uses. The proposed layout does not make use of the land to the south of the fire hall. There was a lot of discussion, and well-deserved, that the building needs to be attractive and present a pleasing streetscape. Consideration should be given to some other configurations of the proposed building layout on the site, twisting it, turning it, taking those elements and reworking them to make better use of the site. And we needed to be cognizant of noise attenuation, of having trucks and equipment operating on the site 24/7. With that in mind, the designers went back to the drawing table and they reconfigured the buildings to be closer to the fire hall and create a buffer between the buildings and the residential lands to the north. We've also considered that there would be a large vegetated berm between the property and those residential lands. And the concept is anywhere from 6 to 8 feet of earth with coniferous plantings on both sides. So you could have, that would block a goodly part of the noise and lights from the vehicles as they entered and exited the property. We also had them locate the vehicle operations further south. So the garages and the maintenance areas and the wash bays are further south from the residential than they were in the first concept. We also looked at another option where we do share or we do make use of the land to the south of the fire hall, and that was to move the sand and salt building and the wash bay to the south of the fire hall, which allowed us to shift the building, and the exterior storage, to the south, allowed us to shift the building a little bit even closer to the fire hall. And then Jim Hupinen from your engineering department came up with an alternative design of his own by cutting and pasting, and we ended up reconfiguring the existing shape of the building using all the same elements. But it allowed us to, again, pull further to the south, closer to the fire hall, greater distance from the residential uses. It still shows the sand and salt dome and the wash bay to the south and the exterior storage. But it does, to the street, present the administration and office area as the closest part to the street. So what is potentially the most attractive part of the building is what people would see as they come across the bridge and onto the island. We had the architects rough up a streetscape, and we actually chose option 3, which is the one with the administration building closest to the road. And the concept has always been that the garage doors would be glazed in a translucent or semi-transparent glazing to allow natural light in, but also to make sure that they don't look like just a truck stop, that they will provide the light as well as be a little bit better looking. Obviously, these are all conceptual, and there will have to be significant refinement as we go through the design and as we get instruction. But this was to give council and staff an idea that the building doesn't have to look like a garage. It can be fit into the streetscape. It can mirror some of the design characteristics of the fire hall if it's going to be its neighbor. And then to further bolster that, we've included a picture of the Town of Ajax Operations Center. I believe it opened 4 years ago. It's not an unpleasant building to look at. They just as we received instruction from staff and the Technical Advisory Committee members that the building has to be good looking. So we've taken these sorts of things into consideration. The next photo is the Town of Newmarket Operations Center. It's of a much greater scale. And larger, but again, it's a pleasant looking building to look at. And then the Town of Milton, which is under construction right now. That is a similar view to what we would see based on this early concept. So it's not a bad looking building. And that certainly would be something we'd want to take into consideration as we move forward. The final photo, and this was raised, someone at one of the meetings asked, are we going to end up with another beehive for the sand and salt dome? And they're very uncommon today. This is the Town of Milton's sand salt building. It's more common. It's a sprung structure with it has a reinforced concrete base and then an aluminum frame and reinforced canvas dome. They're relatively inexpensive to build, and they can be ordered in a variety of colors. Most of them are white, but they don't have to be. And they can be easily fit into the site so that they're not difficult to look at, and they remain clean over time. That concludes the Technical Advisory Committee's recommendation and process to date. I'd be certainly happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Members of Council, any questions or comments to the presenter? Councillor Demeray, then Councillor Kenny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter, what was done about consulting with the area residents? At my last meeting, I did speak with you and shared the fact that many of them do not want this. Has anything been done?
Mr. Stewart.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. To date, we have notified those adjacent property owners. They were invited to Public Information Center number 1. Anyone who attended number 1 or requested to be notified of subsequent have been notified. For Public Information Center number 2 and number 3, notices appeared in both local newspapers as well as on the website. In terms of actually contacting the neighbors, we have not done that as yet, Councillor.
If I may, Councillor, Mr. Aquilina, would this need a rezoning?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it would. I believe that was presented. It would require rezoning.
So therefore, it would actually involve the entire process with respect to involving the public?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor? That's everything? Councillor Kenny.
Thank you, Your Worship. David, just a couple of questions. You say you're in phase 3 of the environmental process, and it looks like you're going to be, I guess I'm concerned that we're going to be stuck again with problem soil. The last one we had done all this work and cost us all this money only to find out that it wouldn't bear a building. So as a consultant on this, have any concerns in regards to the soil there?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. The geotechnical reports that I've reviewed personally and in discussions with city staff who were part and parcel of the construction of the fire hall, we do not believe we will suffer any of the same geotechnical issues that we had on the other site. We would, if this site were chosen and approved by council, we have a plan during the environmental study report time to do some test digs on the site to verify that we are going ahead with information that is accurate.
I just want to make sure that some of that's done, so I don't want to get right to the very end. Our staff's been waiting a long time for this building, way too long. And I, for one, want to see the process. I don't love this site, I can honestly tell you. I do not. I looked at the pictures though, and if it looks as good as those pictures, it'll fit in nice with our beautiful fire hall for sure. But my concern is the neighbors behind, as you know, Councillor Demery say, and also the soil condition for the site there. So those are things that I still would like to hear more about as we proceed along in our presentation. But thank you for your presentation so far. That's great.
Thank you, Councillor. Certainly we'll make note of that at our next technical advisory committee and ensure that we make those points as urgent and as important as you've expressed them.
Further comments or questions? Members of council? Councillor Danch.
Thanks, Dave, for coming down. We spent some time together for sure over the last, I think, almost been 3 years there that we're going back and forth with these meetings and whatnot. And I think we're all trying really hard to get something together for the city staff, and the consideration that's going on is tremendous. Thinking of staff areas for their washing up areas after they're out in the field and stuff like that. And I'd just like to say, you know, it's been interesting for me to sit on something like this, because I know Billy threw me under the bus here and kind of stuck me with this one there. But I think if, like, I like this site personally. I think it's good to keep it in town. You know, you're visible to everybody in the community. It's property that we own. It would save us some money for sure. And I'd like to see us go to the next level, and I hope we don't have any environmental issues, and we could hopefully get some footings in the ground and get something going here. So I like it, and I hope it works. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Danch, and welcome to council. Councillor Butters.
Just one quick question through you, Mr. Mayor, to the presenter. Between this end of phase 3 and then to go to 4 and then to 5, like what is kind of the time frame?
Mr. Stewart.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. As soon as we receive approval from the council, we will prepare an environmental study report. It could be filed with the ministry within 2 weeks. There is a 30-day waiting period following that to get the Ministry of Environment approval, subject to not receiving any objections. Once we receive that Ministry of Environmental approval, we are free to proceed with detailed design, any planning and zoning issues that need to be addressed. But certainly during that time, if we feel confident, we can be doing that preliminary geotechnical investigation to shave some time off. We certainly also could be looking at some of the changes on the site that have been envisioned here. The Technical Advisory Committee could be taking that next step to working with the designers to move forward. In a perfect world, Mr. Hupinen and I were speaking earlier, and I know I've spoken with Mr. Hansen about it. We'd like to be constructing your new building next spring.
Councillor? Councillor Demeray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, through you to the presenter. If I understand this correct, then tonight we are to decide whether this site is chosen or not, and if it is chosen, you can go forward. If it is not chosen, what happens then?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the councillor, if council requests the Technical Advisory Committee to look at an alternate site, if that site is one of the 6 that is already been through the process, we would have to choose a site and have another Public Information Center number 3, where we would present a new preferred alternative. If council's direction is to look at sites that are not on the list, we would have to go back and have another Public Information Center number 2 to present all of the alternative sites, and then another Public Information Center number 3 to present a preferred site and come back to council. So it could add significantly to the time period of getting forward with the project.
Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When you say it could add significantly, if we choose a site that is already on the list, has gone through the process thus far, how much time would be involved in rolling that through to the environmental assessment report?
Mr. Stewart?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the councillor, our estimate would be 90 to 120 days. A new site that is not on the list would be 120 to 180 days delay.
Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I understand the importance of moving forward with this, and our staff has been waiting far too long as it is now. When we came into office in 2010, the very first visit we did was to look at their facilities and see how inadequate they really were, and we understood then this had to change. But here we are, 4 years later, after having many different consultations and much public input, not the kind of public input I would like to see, because I still think we should have gone and knocked on a few doors, and I offered to do that because seriously, there's not that many residents around there that it would have taken that much time. But in any case, so to me that there's a lack of contact with the residents. I do believe that we're taking an incredibly scenic area, something that has great potential for the future, and we're going to take it and you're going to use it in, to me, the wrong way. And it's going to limit that area, and it will impact the future of the city. And again, as what Councillor Kenny had said about the soil conditions, that's my other concern. So, based on those things, I can't support this site location.
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions or comments, members of council? The only question I have, David, is with respect to the, I'll be polite, I'll say the process that we were involved in with respect to the first site. And of course, learning a lesson from that process and finding out after the fact, and a lot of money is spent, that after the geotech was completed, that it wasn't an appropriate site. I don't want to see that happen again. And for the most part, I'm hoping that we don't go, no pun intended, far enough down that road where that then happens again, where we spend a lot of time and effort and money, and then find out that the geotech won't support this construction. That's the first comment. The second comment is that there has been a geotech already done on this land. The current proponent of the property, who's proposing to put homes and townhomes on this property, has done a geotech on the property. I've seen it, and quite frankly, there are some concerns with the back end of the property. Having said that, what I'm getting at is that we can possibly talk to them Hopefully they've been communicated with so that they get a heads up on this happening and they're not caught off guard, because they put a lot of money into this property as well already. Having said that, however, is with that, communicate with them to see if we can get our hands on some of that geotech work, so we're that further ahead of the game in terms of time, but more importantly, in terms of cost.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Members of council, any further question to you, Dan? Has the proponent of that project been notified of this possibility?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
He has.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Members of council, any further questions or comments? Councillor Kenny?
Through you to Mr. Aquilino. Mr. Aquilino, how much is it going to cost us for rezoning regional cost?
Mr. Aquilino?
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Kenny, because we are the municipality, the agreement we have with the region, there is no regional review fee.
Okay. Further questions or comments, members? Go ahead, Councillor Steele.
You're asking for questions or comments to the presenter only.
That's right.
We're still going to debate this.
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments further to the presenter from members of staff? With none, Mr. Stewart, thank you. Well done.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Members of council, we do have a motion before us. It has been moved and seconded. Councillor Butters, Councillor Danch. To the report, members of council, questions or comments? Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to the committee that put this together. I know, we were all sitting around this table a little disappointed the site off of Highway 58 didn't work, but unfortunately we're here, and you know, if you look at the cost today and the numbers that were put in the report, the more you wait, the more it costs. I'll go back to the Valet Center. 21 million when we started. By the time we fiddled and farted around and got it done, 32 million, $11 million. This is the same type of project. When we first started talking about it, it was a lot less. As time goes on, nothing ever goes down in price, or very rarely. It just goes up in price. And we can see that throughout Ontario, or this area of Ontario, other towns and cities are doing the same thing. Their prices for similar sized buildings are a similar price. So you know that their numbers are in the ballpark. I don't like the fire hall site. I've always felt that it should go to housing. However, I'm not here to delay this project. My preferred site has always been Invertos since this second phase of this started. Once we lost the 58 site, I do like Invertos. It's ours, it's expandable, it's a large piece of property, it's in the industrial area, it's not near homes. We know it can be built on because we sold a piece not long ago and they built a big building on it. So that's my preferred site. However, if council's looking at moving forward, getting this done, getting the shovel in the ground, I will support the island site. I'd like to hear some more debate on that. Only real one question I have here, Your Worship, is through you to staff. Any more delays, what is our repercussions with the Ministry of Labor with regards to our King Street site?
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Hanson?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's really an unknown at this point in time. We know there's serious concerns with the conditions that everybody has seen of the conditions at that facility, and we haven't had too much feedback yet. There's been some minor things with regards to air quality, proximity to the mechanics bay and to the work areas next door. We've taken some minor measures to seal off areas, put air conditioning in, portable units in places to try to offset that. But the other conditions with regards to cleanliness, lack of a mud room, all those issues are still there. So certainly that could be brought forward if the Ministry of Labor were to take actions. At the present, we're not being pressed on that.
Councillor?
My understanding, though, is they have put us on notice with regards to this site that changes have to be made. Was that not done a number of years ago?
Mr. Hanson?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Some of the minor issues that I spoke to were air quality, the cleanliness, and so on. Accessibility is a big issue, and we're not able to address that. Separate change rooms for the ladies and the men, this sort of thing, washroom facilities, they're all substandard. And those issues all would have to be addressed if the Ministry of Labor were to give us notice or take action against us.
Councillor?
And do do you think that's anytime soon that they may finally say, look, something or get off the pot?
Mr. Mayor, that's certainly a possibility, yes.
Well, because I am concerned, because I think back then, which I believe was the council prior to this council, there was a number being tossed about it could be fines of $10,000 a day or things like that, that it can get pretty high if we're not prepared to move on this. I mean, this is nothing new to this, most of the people on this council, that Ministry of Labor knows what's going on down here and that they want us either out of there in a brand new site or to pour a lot of money in this site. I'm not for that, obviously. That site's no good. Its use is gone. The city's grown too much to have a small site like that. So that's another concern that I would have, is that we're putting potentially the taxpayer at risk with fines per day if it does come to that, because I think it will. I think they're letting us go through our process. They know what we're doing. Obviously, I'm sure they get copies of these reports. But to sit back and wait, I don't think we can. I think the ladies and gentlemen sitting out here this evening want a decision, want a good decision. Let's move along with this project. Again, my personal position is Invertos, but I'll listen to debate.
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions, comments? No further. Councillor Danch.
We've been sitting in these meetings for, like to say, the last little while, and we've looked at everything. And you say it's a picturesque part of town, and to build houses and stuff like that on, like it's not an area where you could put a basement into a house because it's all rock. So it's not like you're going to have these great looking places because everything's going to be above ground. We own the property. We have to do that pot thing, like you said, and let's get going here. I mean, the Valet Center, we had a bunch of naysayers. I kind of was one at that one time as well, and that, of course, that's when the election thing was going on. Maybe it was a bit of a campaign thing, but this isn't a campaign thing.
At least you're honest about it.
Yeah. This is about getting these people out of a lousy workplace, getting them into something that's up to date. I mean, we're planning on having all the trucks inside, so when these guys show up to plow these city streets at 2 and 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, they're not outside freezing their freaking off, trying to hook up a plow. These guys are going to be indoors in a heated building that's not sunny and 85, but a heated building. Their equipment will be not frozen when they leave, so they're going to be out there. They'll be able to clean their glass, whatever they got to do, and get going. Noise-wise, let's face it, if there's a snowstorm, they're working. If it's not, it's quiet. You guys go home at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, unless there's a canal days, something going on in the city, place is quiet. No different than my own business. Retail hours are one thing, after hours is another. We need to get this thing going, get a good design. David's been working hard with this. We've spent a lot of time with Mr. Hanson and Mr. Hoopinen. Let's get this thing going, build a building. It's the right part, it's in town. It'll be visible because everybody wants to see what this fishbowl's doing. Well, there you go. The fishbowl's right there. Let's get going.
Thank you, Councillor Danch. Further questions or comments? Councillor Desmarais.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to be really clear. There is, not for one moment do I believe that we should not build this. We have to do it. Our staff requires it. We know that. We're really clear on that. My problem is where we're building it, I just don't believe that that's the right place to do it. And I don't believe the residents' wishes were taken into consideration in the proper manner. I think that's something we miss many times. A letter in the mail, an ad in a paper just really isn't enough when it comes to something that's going to impact their entire futures with their homes. So I think a knock on the door is the way to go. That's just my feeling on it. And I do worry about the soil conditions. Those are the reasons why I won't support this particular spot. But as far as the concept of building something, absolutely. I happen to agree that possibly Invertos at this point would be the choice. My ideal spot isn't. It's the Transport Canada lands, but I do understand there may be some time delays on that, and from what I've seen in an email recently, that could be shortened up some. And I just, we've dallied for 4 years getting this off the ground, and I don't know that we can't speed things up and move in another direction. I just think that we've taken too much time as it is, but at the same time, you don't want to rush the decision like this.
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions or comments, members? Well, the only comment I want to make, and I want to put some perspective to this. because, and I don't want to put words in your mouths, but I don't think for a second any member of council, or staff for that matter, disagrees with the process of moving forward with a new facility. I think that's a given. I think what we're debating here is the site of the new facility. And I, like Frank, have been part of the process since day one. And for the most part, you know, the way I look at it is the return on the investment that we're going to make. More importantly, is the return on the investments that people have made in certain areas of the city. What I mean by that is, and I'll take the Gateway area. It's a commercial and retail district, and when you look at the current proposed use for that property, that may bring in 200 to 500 people, new people, into that area versus an op center. That concerns me. I'll admit it. You know, we can have an influx of people living in that area that aren't living there now, that can actually frequent those businesses along Main Street on more of a frequent basis. And that's the whole idea of our new planning procedures and provincial planning policies, quite frankly, is to intensify those areas, not just with business, but also with people to live down where those businesses reside, so that therefore they have an opportunity to sell to, obviously, to more people, so on and so forth. We see it happening in Port Credit. We see it happening in a lot of the newer developments throughout the province of Ontario, and it makes sense that those areas can have that mixture of people as well as business, so that therefore the business is more successful. So the return on investment is what concerns me with respect to lands and in comparison to the other sites. In comparison to the other sites, okay? So people living in those other sites, in terms of those mixed developments, wouldn't matter as much. That's my only concern. However, I think the decision isn't going to be ultimately made tonight. I think if you move forward with this or you don't, you move forward with it, I think ultimately it's going to be the rezoning process that's really going to drive the public participation. And I think for the most part, when this goes out into the public, you will have public participation, especially if obviously the sites aren't as appealable to some of those folks, whether they live in the area or not. I think this is going to open up the can to really involve the public, especially when we get into the rezoning application. But having said that, members of council, it's your decision this evening to where this thing moves forward to. And with that, I'll ask for your pleasure of the motion if there's no more comments or questions. Mr. Howe, before I forget, you may want to discuss the position members of council are in.
I have to speak to the election. On September the 12th, there's a possibility that this council could become lame duck. A rezoning is going to take more than 80 days. That's what's here right now. And lame duck is that if a majority of this council can change by election, just simply by nomination, then this council cannot make these decisions. So that puts it off until December to the new council. This process right here is legislated, and it has been onerous and continues to be onerous under the Environmental Assessment Act. Municipalities must act the same as the province of Ontario. It is a very, very difficult task and a very difficult chore. Should you make the decision tonight and approve this report, it will kick into gear the rezoning and that process. In respect of that, if there are objections in pulling this together, I suspect that it will spill over past September the 12th to the lame duck period, and you will not be able to make a decision until December. So inevitable delay is anticipated at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Howe. Members of council, further questions or comments? So your pleasure to the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? That'll be carried. Thank you. Dan, good luck. We'll now move on to item 5. Councillor Dench.
Department of Planning Development Report number 2014-43, subject recommendation report for zoning bylaw amendment, file number D14-06-14, 220 Erie Street. That Council of the City of Port Colborne Approve the zoning bylaw amendment attached hereinto as Appendix A, rezoning the land to permit an 8-unit block townhouse dwelling. That the city clerk is hereby authorized and directed to proceed with the giving of notice of passing of the bylaws in accordance with the Planning Act, that pursuant to the provision of the Section 3417 of the Planning Act, no further notice of public meeting will be required.
Thank you, Councillor Danch. Seconder to that, please. Councillor Kenny. Questions or comments? Councillor Danch.
Building department and whatnot. The building is far too large. We had a public meeting. We had the residents here. This, I mean, yeah, it's my neighborhood, big deal. It's too large. We don't need an 8-unit place. If maybe it was a 6-unit, you might see a little bit more of a positive look at this, but I can't support it. I know it's in my neighborhood. My neighbors have talked to me. They don't want it. They'd like to see something smaller. A couple single-family dwellings would have been nice, but that's not the way this is going. But I don't like it, and I won't support it. Ask for your support on this thing.
Thank you, Councillor. Members of Council, further questions or comments? No further comments or questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 12. Councillor Demeray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Email correspondence from Lucille Terryberry Stepanchuk, Community Access Manager of Community Living, Port Colborne Wainfleet, dated June 18th, 2014. Recharge for playground use. Request for fee to be waived, East Village Victoria site on Welland Street. That the email correspondence received from Lucille Terryberry, Community Access Manager of Community Living, Port Colborne Wainfleet, dated June 18th, 2014. Recharge for playground use, request to be waived, East Village Victoria site on Welland Street, be received and filed. That Lucille Terryberry Stepanchuk be so advised.
Thank you, Councillor. Have a seconder to that, please. Councillor Doucette. Questions or comments? Councillor Demeray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would actually like to suggest that we agree to waive the fees this is for a summer camp they're doing, because there's going to be a lot of work going on in the park this summer, and they may in fact be quite inconvenienced over the course of the summer, and I just think it would be a good neighbor step.
That's a good angle. Very creative, Councillor. Members of Council, the Councillor is suggesting that we waive the fee. Now, if in fact that is to move forward, you would have to turn this motion down, and then you can make the new motion. Okay, so I just want to give you a heads up on that. Councillor Bodner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is this, which I think it is, the group that the Hydro just gave money for to have this? Is this the same tie-in? It's the same group, but...
Harry, did you want to answer that? Go ahead. It's the same group, yes, but I'm not sure if it's the same program.
Not the same program? Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm hearing everybody say no. Okay.
No, it's not the same program, no.
Thank you, Mr. Hakeem. Further questions or comments, members? So if you do want to waive the bylaw or waive the fee, then you have to turn this down. Okay, this motion. Further questions or comments? Your plate. Councillor Bodner, go ahead. Councillor, do you want to use Frank's...
I don't know. How are we making out?
I'm not sure, Richard. How are we making out? It's not good? Okay, why don't you use Frank's mic?
Okay.
You don't have to move over. It'll pick you up.
If we get enough money in the budget, I'd like a new microphone. Just saying. Just saying.
That was the point of where that was returned down. That was the budget.
I didn't vote on that. And what's left in the mayor's budget? 'Cause it's getting towards the end of the year. You know, we could do that.
We just started the year.
Anyways. Okay, so can staff give me an idea? Have we done this before? I know we've done different things, but is this something that we've done before for other groups? And it would seem like it would be a reasonable gesture, but, you know, we don't want to line up at the door either, banging on the door. So
Mr.
can
Hakeem.
staff give us any ideas?
Through your worship, to Councillor Bodner, we do not waive the fees. It's not within our purview. That's a decision that council directs staff to do. And in fairness, we book the fees through our new ActiveNet system. Everything is locked in, and in fact, rarely get any feedback that the fees are inappropriate in terms of what we're charging. In this particular case, in fairness too, there are numerous bookings for this particular summer camp throughout the summer, and we actually, knowing that there was some inconveniences perhaps, we charge them the one fee. And again, it's largely to make sure that it's permitted, that we have the appropriate person in charge who's looking after the program. And secondly, it's just a means of capturing some revenue. And also it helps in terms of maintenance and making sure that our parks crew is aware as to what's happening at the parks in terms of activity for garbage collection and things of that nature. So it has other benefits, from our standpoint.
Thank you, Mr.
Still
McKay.
council's prerogative.
Great. And I have to say, Councillor Bodner, and I'm sure you'll appreciate this, I received a call from Community Living, and they were somewhat taken back by the charge, and they wanted to request that we waive the charge. Well, as you know, once council sets policy, the only people that can actually waive that policy is council. So I explained to the individual that I can't just arbitrarily do this through the mayor's office, nor can staff. This is a policy that's been set by council. So my recommendation to you is to actually make a request to council to waive the charge. And any group has that ability, regardless of who it is or for whatever reason. Any group has the ability to come before council, as the Conservation Club just recently did as well, by the way, to waive those fees, and it's council's prerogative to then suspend that policy. Not the mayor's, not the councilors, not staff's, it's council in general has that ability. Hence the reason why it's before us today, and ultimately for your decision. Councillor Bodner?
Excuse me, Frank. Okay, I really like this group, Community Living. I've done different things with them, and working with United Way, I know what the great work they do. I also know that there is some cost to putting stuff on for staff and for the city as a whole. And I guess I'm a little torn on this one. I hear from Councillor Demery that there may be some work going on in the park that may be slightly inconvenient. Keeping with the 5C service thing, we try to put, great service, and if we're not delivering that service, maybe there's a reduction. I think I'd be willing to cut that fee in half, still have some funds to administer this program from staff's perspective, and I'd just like to throw that out there too. So.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Doucette?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This particular group is going to be impacted. They put this program on, or at least they attempt to put the program on every summer. These are for disadvantaged kids in most cases, and these children will be in that park for most of the morning, if not chunks of the afternoon as well, and then they go to the pool and different other things like that. If we're going to impact them, therefore it becomes our responsibility in some way, shape, or form to try to make it up to them, because they may have other costs because we're impacting them. And I mean, we're pulling up, I'd say 3/4 of the tarmac that's there, according to what I've got right now. They're going to be putting in a brand new pavement, or at least attempting to put some of the paths in. It's going to impact this group. No matter what we do, it's going to impact this group, okay? I think it's only fair that we do that we somehow give back to them, because they're going to need that money for other things. And that's where it's coming from. The fact that they can go in there and only do a small piece of their programming means it's an impact. And these are kids that are disadvantaged already, and now we're going to disadvantage them even more if we don't do this in some way, shape, or form. And I believe that we have to do this.
Thank you. Councillor Kenny?
Thank you, Worship. And obviously, we all feel the same, that it's going to impact this group. So my suggestion would be, get off your wallet, give me $10, from everybody, and we'll pay the 75 bucks ourselves. Get off your wallet.
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions or comments, members? So to the recommendation, all those in favor? To the recommendation that we have listed in the agenda, all those in favor? Opposed? It's lost. Councillor Desmarais.
I would like to recommend that we waive the fees for this group because we will be impacting the activities that they will have scheduled this summer in that park. And this group does have very limited funding. They already are impacted by having to have washrooms brought in and that sort of thing for their use because there's nothing local for them to use. So I just think that it would be a good thing for us to do. And barring that, I'm certainly willing to throw my $10 in.
Careful, you might have a lineup at your door tomorrow from other agencies. Okay, do I have a seconder to that? Councillor Doucette. And comment? Councillor Doucette.
Can I suggest that I put a friendly amendment in that we indicate that these fees are waived for this year? And the reason for that is if we're not impacting them in any way, shape, or form next year, we may look at this, we may have to look at this again and may not waive it next year. So I would suggest that we put into the recommendation that this waiver is only for this year.
Councillor Movers, okay with that? Councillor Desmarais, you okay with that? Okay, so it hasn't been moved, seconded, including your amendment, which I won't consider an amendment, I'll just consider it a friendly amendment. Questions and comments further? Members, all those in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to, that's it. That is it, I believe. Yes, it is. Okay, members, we have completed our agenda this evening. Are there any notices of motion? Notices of motion? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn? Councillor Danch, Councillor Desmarais, all those in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. We'll move on to our council agenda now. It's tradition. Madam Clerk, introduction of addendum items, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are two items this evening. The addition of item 15, Planning and Development Report 2014-39 with regard to the Administrative Monetary Penalty System and the associated bylaws. In addition, the addition of item D to the closed session agenda, correspondence concerning Sugarloaf Marina pursuant to the Municipal Act subsection 239(2)E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Members of Council, I need a motion to confirm the agenda, please. Councillor Steele, Councillor Desmarais, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. Disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest? With none, move on to the adoption of the minutes. I do have a set of minutes here of the 16th meeting regular of Council, dated June 9th, 2014. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Doucette, Councillor Danch. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Any items requiring a separate discussion, members of Council? With the items listed in your agenda, if I can have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Bodner, Councillor Butters. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. I do have a few sets of minutes here. I'll do them in block if you don't mind. I have the minutes of the Port Colborne Historical and Marine Museum Board of Management meeting dated April 15th, 2014. The minutes of the Port Colborne Gateway Business Improvement Area Board of Management meeting of June 3rd, 2014. The minutes of the Port Colborne Public Library Board meeting of April 1st, 2014. And finally, the minutes of the Heritage Port Colborne meeting dated May 14th, 2014. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kenny, Councillor Desmarais. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. Thank you. Are there any notices of motion? No notices of motion. Move on to the introduction of the bylaws. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the following bylaws be read 3 times and finally passed. Bylaw 6096-6214 being a bylaw to authorize entering into an engineering agreement with Associated Engineering regarding Project 2014-8, qualification of consulting services for the design and construction of a water main extension project. Bylaw 60976314, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 11509781, respecting part of lots 5 and 6, northwest corner of Erie and George Street, Plan 763, being parts 1 and 2 on Plan 59R 14504 in the city of Port Colborne, municipally known as 220 Erie Street. Bylaw 60986414, being a bylaw to exempt Part Park Lot 6, registered plan 987 to 989 from part lot control pursuant to Section 50 of the Planning Act. Bylaw 60996514, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a lease agreement with the Junior A Niagara Whalers Ice Hockey Club for the Valley Health and Wellness Center. Bylaw 61006614, a bylaw to amend bylaw 60723814, a bylaw to set and levy rates of taxation for the year 2014. Bylaw 61016714, being a bylaw to amend bylaws 892000, 5062111707, 5503-110, and 3475-5697, and to provide for the enforcement through a system of administrative monetary penalties. And finally, bylaw 61026814, being a bylaw to provide for a screening officer and hearing officer under the administrative monetary penalty system.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Members of Council, for your consideration, the bylaws have been presented. Will a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Steele, Councillor Kenny. Are there any questions or comments to the bylaws? Just one question, Mr. Hakeem. With respect to the Junior A Whalers, so now that this is going to be signed by myself and the clerk, we can now expect in the 2014 and 15 season that we're going to have two junior hockey teams in the city of Port Colborne, one being a Junior A hockey team, the second being a Junior B hockey team?
Yes, that's correct, Your Worship.
Now, with that said, we are making accommodations for the Junior A hockey team?
Yes, we are.
And how's that working out for you?
Working out just fine. We're working through with the arena facility staff, and everything's been worked out in advance of this as well. So there is an understanding, and I think it's articulated well enough in the agreement that we still have first right, depending on the complexity and the dynamics in terms of bigger tournaments. But for the most part, it's going to work out.
So I want to get a bit more specific and dig a bit deeper on this. With respect to the capital work that may have to be done within the facility, vis-a-vis the dressing room, are they looking at doing a lot of work right off the bat?
No, not at this point in time. They're just going to have minimal, I think, cubbies and things of that nature, but nothing to the extent that the Junior B organization has undertaken. But anything that's going to be undertaken is going to be under their care and control and finances, as long as it's approved by the municipality.
Well, and the reason why I asked the question is twofold. One is that if they do a whole bunch of capital work on those facilities, and of course they may not be successful, and what happens to that, especially with respect to us bringing it back to what we would then otherwise offer now. And the second part of that is, and I'll say it, we have received some threats that may, in fact, open up some more space for them. When I say threats, I mean threats from other organizations, or an organization that may pull out because this organization is coming into Port Colborne. So therefore, that might present an opportunity for them to take advantage of that area. So bottom line is that I just don't want to see them do a heck of a lot of work for nothing, and or to leave us with a heck of a lot of work to react to after the fact.
That won't be the case, because it'll be minimal, and whatever they do to improve that facility or in terms of that dressing room will be governed in terms of the use of that area totally.
Okay.
So it'll have minimal impact on us from what we understand right now and what we've discussed. So, but I know that the arena and facility staff there are on board with all the discussions that Brian and we've had with the Junior A Tier 2 team, and right now, as it stands, both groups are going to be operating in terms of what ice bookings we have at the present time.
That's great job, Harry, and just wonderful that here in Niagara, the city of Port Colborne has a Junior A and a Junior B team. So it's great news for the community and for the region.
Well, I hope it works out well, and there's room for both, so
yeah,
it should be fine.
Absolutely, and I think and that's a good point, Harry, because there's room for both here in Niagara. So not just Port Colborne, but in Niagara, because that's how big the audience is, just as the Ice Dogs are taking full advantage of the whole region. Folks go watch the Ice Dogs from all across the region, and so we're hoping that folks will come down and watch this junior A team, the Whalers, but as well as our B team. So it's great news. Good job. Members of council, your pleasure on the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. With that, Madam Clerk, the confirmatory bylaw, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that the following bylaw be read 3 times and finally passed. Bylaw 6103-6914, being a bylaw to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Port Colborne at special and regular meetings of June 23, 2014.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Members of council, mover and seconder to the confirmatory bylaw, please. Councillor Desmarais, Councillor Doucette. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. I will now entertain a motion to go into closed session for the following items. A, the minutes of the closed session portion of the May 26, 2014 regular council meeting. B, the confidential planning and development report number 2014-44 concerning the potential disposition of city-owned land pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001, subsection 2392C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or the local board. And finally, C, the Confidential Community and Corporate Services Clerks Division, report number 2014-24, subject appointments to the Flavors Advisory Committee pursuant to Municipal Act 2001, subsection 2392B, personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And I believe we have an addendum there too, Madam Clerk, do we not? There it is. And also as well, D, which is Department of Planning and Development Report 2014-39, the Administrative Monetary Penalty System update. I'm sorry, no, we just dealt with that. No, it would be D, confidential correspondence received June 19, 2014, concerning matters impacting the Sugarloaf Marina pursuant to Municipal Act 2001, subsection 2392E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before an administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or the local board. With that, members of council, I'll ask for a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Bodner, seconded by Councillor Kenny. Are there any questions or comments to that? With none, have a great week.